Okay. Good morning from IBMTV. I am your host, Kimberly Calhoun, the Senior Executive Producer of IBMTV Global News. Today we have Nick Palaveda joining us. He is our Senior Executive Producer and founder. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning from the Raleigh-Durham Research Triangle Park today.
Good day. We also have Sasha all the way from Canada. Good morning, Sasha.
Hello, everybody.
Have you had blueberry pancakes lately?
I'm planning to have one very soon, actually.
You'll have to share those pictures. Those are amazing. And then all the way from South Carolina in the United States, we have Chris Berger. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, everyone.
And he is our special guest this morning. Then we have from the Soviet Republic of California, Jim E., Chess Without Borders. He hosts a show. Sasha hosts a show, Chess Stars, but Jim has Chess Without Borders, and he's also a co-host on many of our shows in the morning. And then all the way from the sunny, beautiful UK, we have Ben Coates. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, all. How are we?
Doing great. How's it going in the UK?
It's very warm, so I've gone from that to just drinking out of that now. But I am a little bit disappointed as Chris got introduced as a special guest and me and Jim just got introduced as people that come on. That was a bit disappointing, wasn't it, Jim?
Ben and I are two-fisted drinkers. So.
Well, you have to be on this show because we run a couple hours every day, right? So you got to have
a couple hours. You run like for half a bloody day.
Oh my goodness!
You know, gosh,
but
I'm
that's
gonna be asleep by the time
great.
this is over.
That's what makes it great. You know what? When Ankit and I started this back in early March, we said just 1 hour a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get the global board of advisors on and talk about what's going on because we were learning so much about what was happening in every country. And next thing I know, it was running for 4 hours. We couldn't believe it. We were having people beam in from all over the world, doctors, lawyers, executives. Sharing their experiences, which helped us, Nick, right? Because we learned.
Well, we're heavy in the American department right now, but Chris, who's the new blood that just arrived, okay, and we're the vampires. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Well, I was born in New York, but grew up in good old Charlotte. And about 5 years ago, I crossed the border into Indian land, South Carolina, with my wife, just because of lower taxes. Most recently, I was with a marketing agency as doing a test pilot program with 6 other reps throughout the country, where we would go into dealerships, specifically their service centers, and market for a Uber for Business program. And basically what that was, when we go into those dealerships, talk to the service center manager or service director, is try and get that dealership signed up so they can offer a complimentary Uber ride for when their customers are waiting for their car to be serviced. This was, like I had said, a test pilot program. And beginning of this year, because we started end of last year with it, in the beginning of this year, our contact at Uber was like, yeah, things are going well. You guys are doing great. You know, by the end of 2020, we want to expand to about 30 markets throughout the country. Well, it was about, 8 weeks later, we get this message that they're shutting down the program. We're going, what? So it was a big disappointment with that, and I think mostly it was due to the coronavirus coming into play. So since then, I've got a little side business with a partner doing digital marketing. So we focus on web pages and social media. We also like to consider ourselves consultants. So when we design those web pages, we don't just say adios to you. We continue, what happened there? We continue to keep in touch with our clients.
That's awesome. You have to pivot, right? You have to know when to pivot. And Chris has been good at this, but he's good at marketing. So Chris and I, we've known each other, gosh, I don't know how many years. He actually did some marketing and helped me get marketing supplies for conferences. We were talking about that earlier. You know, when are we going to get the shirts and stuff for IBMTV? Well, Chris would know how to go about all of that. But Chris, what has been the biggest, do you think, the biggest impact and change in our economy and for businesses like startup businesses and things like that with the COVID? What is the biggest shift change that you see happening?
Well, I think number one, since it is a startup, is having the finances to get your name out there. You know, business isn't coming in like they would expect it to do, so they're not going to have that financial backing. However, for them to be recognized, they need to put their name out there, which means they're going to have to spend some money. So it's kind of, you know, a catch-22.
Yeah, it is. So welcome, Willie. Willie is from Australia.
Really?
How you doing?
Good early morning to you, mate.
Good day, mate.
Good day. How is it going down there in Australia with what is it? We're on the fourth layer of the lockdown, fourth stage?
Yeah, stage 4. This is stage 4, and you only go out if you're an essential worker or if you have to buy food or 1 hour of exercise. Outside of that, no, you're not allowed.
Wow. So
Is someone coming around with a timer when you start exercising?
I mean,
some bloke running behind the stopwatch. That's it, 58 minutes. You got to go.
Someone
do they
following
know
you to the
when
grocery
time
store?
really got to make time for that treat too, right? So, but I'm you know, here's what bothers me is that what we recognized early on was whatever happened in Australia, 2 weeks later, it was happening to us in the United States. So, you know, Willie was reporting to us 2 weeks early, oh my God, we're out of toilet paper. You know, you guys better go stock up. And Nick is going, what does COVID have to do with toilet paper?
Yeah, he's using his mind.
And then I clicked, oh my gosh, we're preparing for a huge, you know, like hurricane type thing. You know, we're going to have to hunker down. And so, you know, I immediately stock up and shut down after listening to what was going on in Australia. So it seems like whatever happens in Australia, 2 weeks later, we're getting hit with the same impact. Willie, has this helped reduce the rates again? Has this reduced the spike?
They used it to contain their lacks in enforcing the lockdown rules. So they had security people looking after, but the security people won't give any training whatsoever. And they kept pointing fingers. Oh, no, that's not my job. That's the medical department's job. Medical department said, no, I'm not supposed to do containment. That's not our job. So we're having a commission inquiry into that at the moment.
We have that problem too in the United States, right? Where it's this instead of let's fix the problem. Yep. And I'm hoping that we'll get past this. Maybe we'll get rid of the teams and start over with a referee first. But I just think that we need to start consolidating and working on the problem and not worried about whose fault it is and what we can do now. I am very concerned because all of the countries who have successfully managed through this, like the Netherlands, the Iceland, Hong Kong, Japan, all of them. New Zealand, New Zealand, they had a pandemic policy and team in place right away. Not a doctor, you know, research head of whatever who. They are researchers. You need a pandemic team. And we learned this in the movie 93 Days, which is a true story about controlling Ebola. You can watch it on IBMTV. It's free. But 93 Days is a true story about how they contained Ebola. And it took 93 days until you know that you've got everything controlled, not a few weeks. And you have to get it down to zero, right? You have to get your rates down to zero so that you have a starting point. And we've yet to be able to do that in this country. It's kind of sad. But all of these countries, and I'm curious why we haven't just said, okay, let's bring the pandemic team in and let them go and get their job done. Mike Callahan, that's the first thing he did. He is the infectious disease, one of the head of the infectious disease centers in the United States. And they sent him out to help bring in one of the ships back in March and bring them to port and separate the sick from the not sick. But we didn't do anything else after that. He went back to his hospital in Maryland, I think it is, and then he started treating his people. So I think we just need to figure this out. And Jim, hi.
Jim has arrived. Can you hear us, Jim?
Jim?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Yeah, we should probably do some quick introductions because a couple people were stuck, and I still have one more guest that's stuck on link mistake. In other words, we have 2 links that went out for this program, one at 8 o'clock, one at 10. The 8 is still embedded there. I got to figure out how to get rid of it. But just to introduce.
You do the introductions. I'll take care of the control.
No, I did take care of I think I took care of well, I haven't deleted the link, so it's still sitting embedded.
I'm going to take care of that. You take care of the introductions.
Great. Okay. All right. So with that, what we have is obviously Kimberly Calhoun from IBMTV in the Raleigh-Durham area. Over here, we have Sasha Starr, who heads up Chess Stars and also our investment show, which is today at 1 o'clock, Investing with Sasha. He's out of Russia and currently in Toronto. Chris Berger, who's in the United States of America, which I missed his introduction. I was trying to fix the links.
B-U Berger.
Berger, right. Yeah, Berger, right. I missed his introduction because I had to fix a link. And then we have Jim Eade from the Socialist Republic of Silicon Valley, also with the Eade Foundation in San Francisco, California. Ben Coates, who is with Moguls Media out of Great Britain for the lesser United States of America people. He keeps us up to date what's happening on the other side of the pond. If you really want to cross a big pond, you go to Willie Hill, who's actually he's in Melbourne, Australia, runs Startup Australia, has about 20,000 followers between that and also his startup in Europe. So he does 2 of them out of Melbourne. And Jim Roberts with the Whales in Wilmington, North Carolina, our special guest. Jim, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
So I'm really kind of a connector of entrepreneurs to the resources they need. I've been doing entrepreneur development for the last 20 years here in North Carolina, Charlotte, Asheville, Durham, and Wilmington. I run a nonprofit called the Network for Entrepreneurs in Wilmington. And to feed that, I have the Wilmington Angels for Local Entrepreneurs. I also have a podcast called 3 Sips of Advice. And that's really what I'm doing. The big news is that Wilmington was just announced as one of the top 100 emerging entrepreneur ecosystems in the world, which if you knew Wilmington 7 years ago, we weren't even known in our own state for entrepreneur development. So to be suddenly a top 100, really a top 90 ecosystem has kind of shown the hard work that we've done over the last 7 years.
Well, that sounds pretty good. Ben, since you're in the United Kingdom, are you familiar with Wilmington, North Carolina?
Wellington, there's a Wellington everywhere, isn't there? I think there's one in New Zealand, there's one in Telford, Shropshire.
It's not Wellington, it's Wilmington.
Wilmington, oh, okay. It's close enough, yeah. No, I'm not familiar with that, obviously, but it's great to listen to somebody else that just likes connecting people. I think it's important, Jim, to be honest with you. You just do connect people, because I think if you give enough, it'll come back to you in a roundabout way anyway. I think that's the best philosophy to have. But yeah, so congratulate you on that, sir.
Okay, now we'll go to Melbourne, Australia. Mr.
Wait a minute,
Hill.
Nick. I've got to address the elephant in the room.
Where's the elephant?
The elephant in the room is what's going on between North Carolina and South Carolina. Is there? You know what the tension is between North California and Southern California, Is that going on in?
No, we it's real simple. We don't recognize South Carolina as a state. So the thing is that North Carolina doesn't have a problem with South Carolina, so it doesn't exist. But I'm just curious, since my mate here is in Melbourne, Australia. Are you familiar with Wilmington, North Carolina?
I've heard of it. I have heard of it.
Yeah.
And
okay.
yeah, I'd like.
Right. Okay,
well, some other big news
that.
is our bank that's headquartered in Wilmington just announced really a $600 million venture fund for fintech companies. It's called Canopy Ventures. And one of the other spin-outs of Live Oak is actually a company called Encino, Ncino, that just had the largest IPO since the 2000 crash. So there's really a lot cooking in Wilmington, this is the beach. Probably the only other Wilmington is Delaware, which is where everyone registers their companies for tax reasons. But this is a little beach town of 125,000 people.
Right, and that's the beauty of Wilmington.
I think Sasha knows the one in Delaware.
I try to get to Wilmington a few times a year. It's been difficult this year. Are you down there right now, Jim?
No, I'm in Wake Forest, North Carolina, which is about 20 miles north of Raleigh. And I've been here since the school shut down because I have a 12-year-old son that I needed to help with I wouldn't call it homeschooling, but have virtual school at home because I'm not doing the teaching.
Okay. But you know what? We're all kind of in that situation right now. I've spoke with even my doctor. She has a 12-year-old too, and she said that they had to buy a special laptop for the school system that they were issuing instead of the TI 50 whatever calculators we used to have to purchase.
Right.
They're purchasing special laptops to integrate with the school. What is going on with that? I mean, she told me that they're doing the same thing. The parents are kind of alternating throughout the day to make sure he gets there. But how are they doing things like recess and stuff like that?
Well, I wouldn't say they're doing recess. It's 4 or 5 kind of activities that they have to accomplish per day. And then you're kind of back into, I guess the rest of the day is recess. But I think they're going to change it this year where you actually have to have some interaction on screen with the teacher. Last year, it was the teacher would kind of send some homework, but there was no face-to-face screen time with the teacher. So I think that's going to change with what they're calling a virtual academy when school restarts very soon.
Yeah. Well, talk a little bit about this $600 million fund for fintech. Because the thing is, startups, if they have their eye on the prize, they're looking at the financial aspects of it. And I'm familiar with the Live Oak Bank because at one time it had the highest interest rate in the state. I was actually going to drive down there just to deposit a huge amount of money in the bank because it had a high interest rate. So, but I never made it down there yet. But tell us about the FinTech $600 million fund, because on our Business Economics Monday, we do have a lot of FinTech people show up throughout the week. And we'd like to know a little bit about what is this fund, how's it used, what's the story with it?
So Live Oak Bank is a publicly traded bank. It was started by a couple guys who left Wachovia and, of course, wanted to live at the beach. So why not start at the beach? And Live Oak is a very interesting bank that is not your typical deposit bank. In fact, they have no branches whatsoever. But what they do is they serve certain industries that they are the number one SBA loan provider in the country. And really what they do is they only do in select industries. So I believe they started with veterinarians, and they went down the list in the SBA listing of what industries pay back at the highest percentage. So they found veterinarians were the most likely to pay back their loans. And so that's the industry they went after. And now they've gone down the list to past 25 different industries. They now do breweries and vineyards. So they're really expanding. Now, This fintech fund is actually funding from, I believe, well, I would say at least 27 nationally known banks have contributed to the $600 million in the fund. Encino is, again, kind of an early spin out of Live Oak. It's not really one of the portfolio companies of the new venture fund. Again, it's called Canopy Ventures, CANAPI Ventures. And they've hired some pretty good talent to run this. They have an annual event called FinTech at the Beach in Wilmington. And one of their venture capitalists for Canopy is the former lead investor for Disney. So they have some pretty heavy hitters that have joined the staff. And Live Oak has proven that they know what they're doing to invest in these fintech companies. Not only Encino, which of course again had a huge IPO, but they have another company called Aperture, which just raised $20 million in a round, and it's very significant because I think North Carolina is a very banker-focused state. The city of Charlotte really made its name on banking, recruiting banking talent from Wall Street to live where it's a little warmer, a little less expensive. They kind of made downtown Charlotte very banker friendly. There's high-end hotels. They stole, if I may say, stole a cooking school, Johnson and Wales, from Charleston and brought it to downtown Charlotte to improve the local food scene. So we are a very pro-banking state. A lot of that led back to Hugh McCall at Bank of America when he started acquiring other banks in other states, and everyone was curious on how Bank of America, including it was Nations Bank, acquired Bank of America and moved their headquarters to Charlotte. So that's what's really going on. They've made 2 investments, and obviously a whole lot more with that much money to put to work.
Yeah, and Charlotte is one of the biggest banking centers in the world right now because what they did is, you had that tiny little bank over there, Jim, San Francisco, called Bank of America. We stole it. I mean, we moved it to Charlotte, North Carolina, because of Hugh McCall. He just gobbled all the.
I believe the CEO actually lives in Boston. Brian Moynihan, I believe, lives in Boston. He doesn't live in Charlotte, where the headquarters is, but it still has a significant presence in Charlotte.
Yeah, and for those who are not familiar with fintech, because I went to the Money 2020 show, which is one of the largest fintech shows in the world. It's in Las Vegas. Yeah, what it is, it's basically
Money 2020. It's not the 2020 year, okay, people. It's not 2020 year. It means information, 2020 vision. But it had nothing to do with the year. Money 2020 has been around a long time.
Basically, your credit card is fintech. In other words, they gobble up a percentage of all the money that runs through the monetary system into their coffers. It is a very lucrative and profitable industry, but a lot of people don't know about it. When I went there, I thought, okay, they're going to do what Sasha does, show how you invest your money, how you do covered call writing, how you play the options market, how you analyze stocks. No, that's not what they do at fintech. What they do is they show when people make payments, it's payments basically, and people put money on their credit cards, how you get a percentage of it. There was one guy we met who ran Yapstone, which they're doing about 16 billion or more, 20 billion in payments per year through. What they do is they collect all the payments from VRBO and I believe Airbnb. It's a very lucrative industry. So it doesn't surprise me to see them gravitate into the fintech industry. But when you go to school, at least traditional education, there are very few, if any, fintech classes. So, Jim, how did you happen to stumble across fintech? Since you've been an entrepreneur and working with entrepreneurs for 20 years, how do you stumble into it? Because I'm sure you didn't go to college at UNC Wilmington and take a fintech class.
No. I'm actually a University of Florida graduate with a degree in advertising. I obviously, I lived in Charlotte for 6 years, from 1996 to 2002. And fintech was bubbling up then. If you have that much banking industry in one city, kind of where is banking, the future of banking going? And that was certainly a fintech, kind of the start of the fintech bubble, not bubble, but kind of growing up. Fintech is not my game. It really is for Live Oak and Encino and Aperture. And if you've ever been to Wilmington, you should really just drive by the Live Oak headquarters. It's really the nicest building maybe in the whole state. The whole exterior is wood. It's a light wood. It's a 21st century work environment. Every benefit you can imagine for their employees, and the future of fintech, which again everyone thought was in Charlotte, because there are actually two organizations that are very well known in Charlotte, the Queen City FinTech Hub and the Carolinas FinTech Organization. So you would think that with all of their resources and all the resources of the bank and these two organizations, that the future of fintech would be in Charlotte. But you can't deny a $600 million venture fund, which, if I think I know, is the largest venture fund in the South. There may be some biotech venture funds that are bigger, but I don't think there's another venture fund in software that's $600 million. And to have it at the beach,
it is,
everybody.
Yeah, it is by far the biggest fund in probably the South for any tech industry. There are some down in Miami trying to get bigger, and Nick Spanos has been really funding a lot of the tech industry down in Miami. But you're right, this is big news for North Carolina in general. But something a lot of people don't understand about Charlotte, North Carolina, is that's where all the networks were built for all of the banking industry. A lot of people are not aware of that. When I was working in telecom, that's where we went to, make sure that the network stayed up for the banking industry. And I don't know why they picked Charlotte, North Carolina for this, but they did. But every one of the main networks for Bank of America, First Union, all of them at one point in time were right there in Charlotte. It was interesting.
Yeah, and Jim, what is your reach? In other words, does the bank and the fund, is it just limited to North Carolina? Do you work all over the country, or do you work all over the world? What is the reach of what these people are doing in Wilmington?
Yeah, so it's a national. I mean, Encino now has international offices, so it's potentially that. I wouldn't put it past Canopy Ventures to have more of a global reach than certainly within. It's certainly not a North Carolina, because this staff lives all over the place. The guy from Disney didn't move to Wilmington. He's still in California. So they are going to every conference. They're being very visible in the community. So I think a couple of their deals are already out of Atlanta, which makes sense because there's so much. I believe there's a company called PayRails that they've invested in the Atlanta region. So it is certainly not a North Carolina fund. It would take them a long time to invest that kind of money, $600 million, if it was just within the state lines.
Right. Chris, do you ever run into fintech in your line of work? Do you ever run into the fintech operations at all?
No, I have not.
Really? Okay. So no fintech over there then. What about you, Jim? You ever run into the fintech companies? Because in Silicon Valley, you're the land of the wireheads. But do any of these wireheads get into financial technology?
Well, when you're starting talking 600 million, you're starting to get Silicon Valley's attention. There's no question. That's not chump change. So they are players, and I'm sure there are people among the vulture capitalists all around me that have looked into them. But it is one thing to be on the opposite coast in terms of they may not be looking at them because they can't visit and have face-to-face conversations. They can have online conversations, of course, and do their due diligence, of course. But I can't say yes or no. I can neither confirm nor deny that there is interest. But they are talking money in the terms that Silicon Valley would pay attention.
Okay, yeah, 600 million would be a little blip on the radar scope. What is this anyway?
So this is the Live Oak building
in
Wilmington.
Nice bank office in Wilmington. The attraction I see of Wilmington is you're right there on the beach. I mean, you're right next to, they have Carolina Beach, they have Topsail Beach, they have all these beaches within it's a beach city. That's
Furry Beach. Yeah, it's beautiful location.
Right.
Like Jim said, it's cost effective to live there compared to probably other parts of the United States, especially for beach area.
But I get living in Wilmington, Jim, because it's beautiful. There's beaches. I don't get Charlotte. Okay, I very seldom go to Charlotte. Sorry, guys from Charlotte. Except Hugh McCall was a pretty powerful guy grabbing all the banks. He stole our bank out of Florida, okay, which was the exchange he made at the North Carolina National Bank. I was, to North Carolina banks. And so the thing is, but Charlotte, are you kidding me? It's in the middle of nowhere. And so is that the appeal of Wilmington? Is that, I mean, I'm into lifestyle. I mean, I like the idea of hanging out at the beach. I don't like hanging out in the middle of empty, a soulless city like Charlotte. So is that the appeal of Wilmington? What?
Well,
you can have soulless cities.
Winning friends and influencing people again.
Right,
I want to get my callers from Charlotte.
Charlotte is also the hub.
Why is Charlotte?
Can we just leave him on Charlotte because it's giving me a break, so that's fine.
Can I give you an answer on Charlotte?
Charlotte, a lot of people don't know.
Charlotte.
Come on. Why would anyone live there?
Blame everything on Charlotte.
I questioned that as well many times, but it was also the hub for, and don't take this wrong, but for a lot of the motorcycle gangs, right? It was the home base, corporate headquarters for Hell's Angels and a couple of the.
I don't get that right.
So, but nothing wrong or bad about that. But for whatever reason, that became the corporate headquarters for that. It just, I don't know why it grew that way. I kind of left Charlotte because the crime rate kept going up, and so as soon as I could get
there's nothing to be said for that city. Okay, I mean that's the realities of it. Okay, listen, it's like a piece of land in the middle of nowhere. There's no beautiful mountains. There's no beautiful beaches. There's no beautiful lakes. There's nothing beautiful about it. Okay, the only thing beautiful is that when you watch in the rear view mirror as you're leaving, okay, then that's beautiful. Okay.
I think you just scared Jim away.
I think so. I think we went too hard at Charlotte. But let me get back to the elephant in the room. Chris, you're a transplanted North Carolina into South Carolina. Do you get any pushback from being from the North?
No, it's really not that. I just want to go back to, I know some of you guys are saying get off the Carolina subject, but people I've talked to for Charlotte it's the midpoint from the north and from the south. So from New York and Florida. A lot of people move from New York to Charlotte because maybe they have grandchildren in Florida and vice versa. You say that there's nothing good about Charlotte. I look at it as we are 2 hours away from the mountains and 3 hours away from the coast. I mean,
wait, time out, Chris. Your claim to fame is that you're equally far away from everything. Okay,
how many people
come
Missouri
on,
have that?
you're in the middle of bloody nowhere. Okay, and your claim to fame is that you're 3 hours away from everything. Why don't you live in Antarctica? You're at least a continent away from everywhere. You could live in the middle of where's that our friend from Australia? Live in the middle of the outback. Hey, mate, why don't you go to Uluru? Okay, you're like 5 hour flights from
not that bad.
Hey, I'm half an hour away from the ocean and an hour away from the mountains.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at Ayers Rock. What rock can you look at in Charlotte? There's nothing. Okay, there's nothing there. It's a soulless city. Okay, it's dominated by banks and robber barons. The best thing to do is watch it as you're driving down Interstate 85. Watch it in the rear view mirror as you're leaving. Even the
and I think that is its appeal. That
So
is
I
the
want
key.
to. What I
Shaquille,
want
because there's nothing else around,
What?
and that's the way it goes. Shaquille, the basketball player, took a no-name lawyer to be his agent.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
because he knew he had a winning ticket. He knew he had the winning ticket
Yeah, of
in his
course. Yeah,
hands.
because
So
he's
he
7 foot tall.
he
That-
bought
yeah.
a no-name lawyer to be his manager.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the same thing with Charlotte. You get a new place, not attached to anything like Silicon Valley. Like you've got
Well,
to climb
at
and you
least
got to
Silicon Valley is
you got to push
actually
shit
it
uphill
has- it
all
has
the
water.
time.
Nobody can
Hey,
afford to live here.
I'd go there like in a blink
You go where in a blink?
because to
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
You
Yeah.
go to Charlotte in a blink? You'd leave
In a
Melbourne?
blink because
Charlotte?
I don't have to push shit uphill. I go
Melbourne's
there and it's a
beautiful-
level playing field.
What?
It's a
Oh,
level
because
playing field.
You're hours
I can
away
go.
from everything.
I can go. I've got 2 fintech products. I know I walk in there, I have a good chance of getting heard.
Yeah, of course you would, because all they have is money.
But,
I mean, the
but
thing
if I go to Silicon Valley, I've got 2,000 other people in front of me. Why would I go there?
yeah, good point. You can go to Charlotte and get attention because no one wants to go
Well,
there.
let's talk
If-
about.
if-
Let's get off of that. Let's talk about the good thing here, because Nick, when you and I got together and started working on Money Masters and things like that, North Carolina itself had less than 0.025% of the funds in the United States.
Okay, yeah, that's the
Now we're
reality.
looking at $600 million. I don't think that ever happened in North Carolina before. I mean, I raised
To
130,
applaud.
but
Yeah, that's kind of makes me move on the needle, because when we looked at the demographics of North Carolina, they all tout their entrepreneurship. I live in the Research Triangle Park. Okay, it's a bloody Research Triangle desert. They
It
think they're a park, but it's a bloody desert. Here's the reality.
you moved here when it closed down, Nick.
You guys in North Carolina, your total amount of investments in the United States for startups is 0.075. It's not even 1%. 40% is sitting where he is down there in Silicon Valley. They have 40% of all venture startup funds.
But that's a
14%.
saturated market.
You don't even have
Saturated.
1%.
I go there and I'm saying, please, sir, can I have some more? And
Yeah,
I'm going to be doing that for the next another 2 years before somebody's going to, hey, what do you got?
I live here and I do the same, Willie.
You know, if I go to James Carolina, I get, hey, what you got? You know, I've got first take there.
Yeah, but the realities of it is all the money is in Silicon Valley. It isn't in North Carolina. The people in North Carolina just have to get real. Now, Jim may have a startup now, 600 million, that got the attention of Jim, because Jim Roberts has 600 million. And that hits a little bit of the needle. But the realities of all the bloody money is sitting in Silicon Valley. It's not in North Carolina, no matter how you play the game, or that's just the way it is. Now, whether the North Carolina Southerners will ever make a move in that area, I guess we're still waiting to see. Maybe the banks will do it. I don't know. But
okay, the flow of it will be, okay, let's go to North Carolina for our seed fund, our early stage fund. We'll go to Silicon Valley when we're doing Series B, Series C, Series D.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just be clear about that.
Better chance to do an A round.
That's totally different. So if I'm there, I'm doing my early stage, my Series A.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that might be true. Well, you may actually get an interview in North Carolina, where in Silicon Valley, you're number 5,400.
They won't give you the time of the day. They won't.
But we know at the end of the day where all the manufacturing isn't even going to take place here. It's going to take place in India. So the thing is, you can forget it. All you Americans who think you're going to have jobs, forget it. They're all going to be outsourced over there, because the thing is, they have hardworking, high-tech people. Ankit, how's the startup scene over in New Delhi?
Startup is always good in India, especially in Delhi and the metro cities in India. But due to COVID, it's still a little down. But I think this is the time where we can filter out a lot of startups, because a lot of companies, they pretend to be startups to get a lot of money and funding and all those stuff, but they are not really startups. So that's the case. But people who are serious and who are ready to, do like work for like 24 hours a day, they get all the funding. So everything is good as of now. It's just a little slow because of the COVID, but everything is fine. But this is the best part, that now you can filter between startups and people who don't show up. So that's what we are doing right now during COVID.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that, because Jim has been Jim Roberts. I'm talking about has been floating around. Not Jim Eade. We don't know what he does yet. But the next Jim Roberts has been floating around Just for Dummies. You know, he sold 1 million copies of that crazy book. Okay. So talk about. Talk about hitting the mother load. But anyway, Jim Roberts has been floating around startups for 20 years. And what we find on our show, because we do startups, we do podcasters, we do a lot of CEOs from major companies. That tend to be our sweet spot. But Jim, one problem I've seen working with the startups is they tend not to show up. And in other words, have you seen that phenomenon where all of a sudden you set a meeting with them and they just basically blow you off?
Jim?
Well, we don't really have that kind of density in Wilmington. So if they blew me off, they might as well leave the city, because, you know, there's, I certainly value my time, and I value other people's time. And word would get out very quickly that is not a startup entrepreneur that anyone would want to work with. So I wouldn't tolerate that. And I would make it very clear that they're going to really struggle if North Carolina is still kind of a relationship town or a relationship state, and everyone knows each other. And I'm very visible because I'm a big person. I'm 6'4" and now bald, but everyone sees me, and I go to almost every startup event in the whole state. So I'm very well connected, and if I have a bad experience with an entrepreneur, I owe it to the people that I'm friends with in the industry to let them know that is just simply not acceptable.
Sweet. Okay, so you rein them in. See, our problem was we were filming in CS and in Las Vegas and had 176,000 people there, and so these people could just like blow you off and all that. So Willie, in Melbourne, since you run the startup community in Australia, mate, what goes on there with the startups?
No, we're at a disadvantage here, okay? Because Jim's 6'4". I mean, a 6'4" guy walk into any room, hey, everybody will say, "Hey, what can I do for you?"
Okay, so Willie, what you need to do is you need to change and become a 6'4" dude.
Okay, no. That aside, one of the things I've noticed being admin for large number of Facebook group is large number is not indicative of the strength or the resilience of the group. Large number just means everybody thought, hey, it'd be nice to get into this group. And so what I'm doing now is I'm culling the group so that people that are coming into the group exchange. There's interaction, there's exchange.
Right.
The big numbers are not indicative of a functional group.
I totally agree with you. And in my industry, the company that I own, we have 1,200 salespeople. It sounds very impressive, but then you find out that 1,100 are really bad. 1,100. Okay, and then we have 100 that are good. And every time I talk to other people that are in financial sales, they get the same thing. It's not even an 80-20 rule. It's 90-10.
90-10.
90%.
Absolutely.
Will do all your work. Absolutely. And as you go to the top 1%, they're actually really, really good. You know, some of our sales guys pull over $500,000 a year, but their thing is they're really, really good. Now, the thing is, Jim, do you find the same thing with the startups? In other words, 9 out of 10, this is the data we get back, that are funded will fail.
Yeah, that's very true. You know, what they say is if you have 10 companies in your portfolio that you've invested in, 6 of them will die. 2 of them will be what we call the living dead, which means they're not growing and they're not dying. They're just kind of going forward. And and then, you know, 1 will kind of return their investment, and then hopefully the other one makes up for the other losses. So my angel network is only 5 years old at this point. We've got 14 investments. Our investments are very small because we have a very small group. We're usually the first company in. We're usually the first, $25,000 to $100,000 that these companies get, and then they use that to validate to find other investors. And then once they're in the portfolio, it's also my job to bring other investors on board, or at least make other introductions to other investors. So yeah, I mean that, you know, the one returns the capital, and hopefully the 10th one in your portfolio is the big winner. And we've had a couple exits in Wilmington. We've had a couple exits in Wilmington since we talked last. We had a company called Player Space that was acquired out of Houston, Texas, and we had my poster child for my work for the last 7 years was a company called Next Glass, or they're actually known as Untapped, and they're an international company based out of Wilmington, and they went from a father and son team in 2013 to having 125 employees in Wilmington.
Wow.
In 2019, 2020, and they just got acquired by a private equity firm out of Boston. And everyone did well on their investment. And that was really proof of the hard work that I've done for the last 7 years to kind of help this father and son team with media relations, with meeting other investors. Unfortunately, my angel network was started kind of too late to get into that deal, but I certainly have a lot of pride in knowing that I had a very small role in helping that company succeed, and hope to find other companies. And really what we're trying to do is to create that FOMO, right? Where maybe some of the angel investors should have gotten on that deal. And now that we've had 3 exits, maybe it'll wake up some of those wealthy people that should be angel investors.
Yeah, in other words, they go to the next.
Can I just mention a point here, Jim? Okay, how you hand the dealer is in a package. Okay, and the package is you split the amount that you're investing into a equipment and leasing format and a cash component. Okay, so that the moment you start investing, you doling out the cash. Okay, so if your ratio is 1/3, 2/3, 1/3 cash, 2/3 equipment and leasing, so that if he flunks out for whatever reason, we can always go back to our investors and say, hey, that startup only used 1/3 of the cash component. Okay, he did not lose 50,000. He lost 1/3. 1/3 of the 50,000 is like 10,000, 13,000. Okay, it's palatable to the investor. It's not like, hey, you lost me 50,000. What are you still doing here? You know, you package it in such a way that it's palatable to the investor.
Yeah, so you minimize your potential losses.
Yes, and the more people you get in that caliber, your risk management. So this is when you go to the investor. This is our risk management policy. This is how we invest. It's split in 1/3, 2/3. It's 1/3 is the cash component, 2/3 is the equipment and leasing component. Okay, if he flunks out and he goes, you still got the equipment, you still got the space. You can lease it to another startup.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Let's talk to a person who does investing. Alexander Starr, what is your thoughts about investing in startups? And this afternoon you're running a show, Investing with Sasha. Is Shaquille going to be on that show too? I'm just curious.
Yes, he will be on that show, and I think we will have a very, very interesting show, because for the first time in many weeks, if not months, the market faltered yesterday, trying to recover today. So we'll figure out really what's going on. But investing, as we know, there are 6 companies, which are Apple, Alphabet, Netflix, what are the others?
Amazon,
and all the other beauties. Okay, there are 6 companies that together constitute 24% of S&P 500 index. So the other 476 companies together, they represent only 76% of the index. Now, so these companies are they're marvelous, well-financed, money-making machines, keeping all their cash outside of the United States, don't pay taxes, and this is just a dream comes true. It's they live in a communism society, and we can only dream about this. Most of the people, for sure. Now, another stuff is okay. So then come S&P 500 companies. There's not much to talk about it, and well, probably most of them will like to be a walking dead. So for practical reasons. Okay, so now we're moving into startup situation. Okay, it's very risky by nature. I don't want to even emphasize that because it's just another banality to say so. However, what's interesting thing is that I've learned from, I've run several businesses myself and finance them, including public offerings or so on. So what people are telling me is that basically all these big funds in Silicon Valley, they are flocking to this potential superstar, future superstars. They're flocking together. It's like one very seldom will not take the risk. Maybe they won't even be not be capable even to understand the opportunities. But when you have 5 or 6 of them, there is a good chance that 1 out of 5 or 6 will understand what is going on, and if he will enlighten the other 5, and they will come. Yeah, okay. So how much they need? Okay, $500,000, $500,000. No, more likely say $5 million, $50 million. And will put together their fifth of its investment, and it will sort of start moving somewhere. So the risk is already spread. They are in an exclusive club who are already there in place. And if things will start a little bit to work out, they will probably involve.
We're getting a little background static from somebody. Artie has joined us. Artie, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Aarti Shekhar. I'm a gemologist from Carlsbad, California. And I did my gemology about 14 years back, which was 2006. And since then, there has been no looking back. And now I run a store in New Delhi, Saket, where we deal into only natural, non-treated gemstones, the best selection from all over the world. And we cater to clients' needs where there's a big lag in genuine stones and precious stones and certified stones from around the world. So that has been my expertise.
Okay. All right. Now, Jim, when you were talking about your startup fund, the thing is, are they limited to fintech? Because recently there was a company called Epic Games here in
Could you repeat the question? I'm the sound.
Oh, I'm actually getting some background. I'm talking to Jim right now.
There's some background noise from some.
Yeah, I already have some background noise you're gonna have to work on, Jim. But the question is to you: okay, is the fund limited to fintech? Because games here in Cary just went off with a valuation of $17.6 billion.
Right.
Apparently, they produce a game called Fortnite, and on IBMTV, I think Mankit, we actually have a television show just on the esports, right, going on. And the thing is, it seems to me, at least my analysis of that whole industry, Jim, it is a bigger industry than the movie industry. And we have people in the movie industry on Tuesday. But is the fund limited to fintech? I think, aren't you like limiting the scope?
We need to separate the two things. So Canopy Ventures is not my fund. That is connected to Live Oak Bank. My small angel fund is the Wilmington Angels for Local Entrepreneurs. We are not just in fintech. So Canopy Ventures is solely fintech, and mine, we have yet to make a fintech fund. So we have software companies, .com companies, we have product companies. The company that we are probably most excited about is a company called Measure.io. which is mesur.io, and it is ag tech. So they have sensors that go in the ground for organic farming, and the sensors send back the data about the nutrition and moisture in the soil. This is a veteran-started company, U.S. Marine, and actually the oldest CEO in our portfolio. So he is not a 24-year-old app developer that's never done anything before. This is kind of an older gentleman in his late 50s that has a lot of experience. So that's one of the 14 companies in our portfolio, which is pretty broad. All the way from a VR company that called Brilliant Soul, and what they do is in virtual reality, there's a problem with motion sickness. So instead of just the goggles, they have sensors that go in your feet, in your shoes, and the sensors in your shoes help your character move through virtual reality. So again, it's very wide. We don't have any fintech companies, but I mean, we certainly would look at them, but that's not we don't have a vertical focus in our angel network because the ecosystem in Wilmington is not old enough just to have one vertical focus.
Okay. There's a question from the Foggy Island of Great Britain for Mr. Ben. Ben,
Jim,
what do you have?
Jim, have you seen a change of who's been approaching you for the investment since COVID-19? Have you seen any degrees of change or business plans changing, perhaps that were talking to you prior to what they are now?
No, we don't. Wilmington is not a kind of a biotech or pharma region, so it really doesn't have those kind of companies that would be COVID-19 focused. Now here in Raleigh, and where we are with the Research Triangle Park in Durham, 3 tier 1 research universities with UNC, Duke, and NC State. That is a big change. There's been an awful lot more focus on COVID-19. There's a big BARDA office here, and BARDA is really a small venture fund within the federal government for health tech. And they have a major office here in RTP and have been very aggressive in helping biotech related companies. North Carolina, this is really, biotech is the second largest industry in North Carolina. So we have the Biotech Center, which actually has very generous grants. They have relationships with all the venture capital firms. So all the resources you would need to grow a biotech firm that would be COVID-19 has all the resources here in the Raleigh-Durham area.
Yeah.
And what about, you said you've had the 50-year-old director. Is that come because of change of circumstance during this crisis, do you think, or is it just it's time to go because there's never going to be a better time?
Why did we invest in a company that has a 50-year-old CEO?
No,
is that the company?
Why has the 50-year-old CEO now decided it's time? Is there anything to do with the current situation? When you spoke to him?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's not a new company. This company's been around for 4 or 5 years, so it's certainly pre-COVID. But the ag tech space is very hot here in the Southeast because, where I said biotech is the second biggest industry, agriculture is actually the largest industry in North Carolina, because you probably don't know, but North Carolina is actually 10 hours wide. So it is a very long state. And so there's many rural areas where they grow the agriculture, whether that's tobacco. We're very big into hemp is starting to take here. Obviously the animals that are farmed, whether it's hogs, turkeys, this is a big agriculture state. So that is why it made sense for Measure.io to start in North Carolina.
We're as big as Sweden, so Sweden just back off a little bit. We control coronavirus better than Sweden, and our state is bigger than Sweden, so Sweden back off a little bit. Yes, Ankit, you have a question from...
So Jim, do you invest in companies who are based out of US as well, or you are just focusing on the market which is right next to you?
No, we're not big enough to kind of invest. We have one investment in South Carolina, and the rest of them are either in Wilmington or Raleigh-Durham. So we don't really invest outside of that simply because it's really just me, and I have a handful of investors, and they know I'm kind of limited. To be very clear, I am not an investor. I simply manage the process. I am not a high net worth individual. Most of my career has been in nonprofits and economic development organizations. So there really wasn't a chance for me to become wealthy within that. So no, it's mostly local within North and South Carolina.
Yeah,
But there's plenty here.
If you get a chance to invest Indian companies based out of India, so would you like to do that?
Yeah, that's just not realistic for us. But North Carolina is very is a kind of an international place. There's a lot of background.
Yeah, we just got some
so yeah. So before I moved to Wilmington, I worked for the North Carolina Department of Commerce in the International Trade Division. So we are a very international trade focused state. We really did a good job in helping our companies export. There are a few Thai organizations, TIE, the Indian Entrepreneur Organization. There's one here in RTP that actually does have they have a new angel fund attached to the Thai organization, which I had never heard of before. So that's a nice addition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
we have Aarti Shekhar, and she works in the gemology industry, and as like everyone is looking for funds and to go global, basically.
Yeah, I was going to ask Artie, are you limited to New Delhi, or do you work all over the world, Artie?
So primarily our purchase is from all over the world, and we do a couple of exhibitions in the UAE because India is a market for stones. Stones are related with astrology and a lot of good fortune. So our primary sales are within India, but since stones are mined all over the world, so we have to travel to actually purchase stones. So of course the COVID times have been really tough, and we really don't know when the purchase will get streamlined and how things are going to come back on track. What are the prices going to be in the future if there is no supply of the stones? And so yeah, it's a complicated time, but trying to hold on.
And I think what do you think? I mean, where's the industry going? Because if you talk about jewelry or maybe stones, that is something which happened at the bottom of the pyramid right now because of COVID. Everyone is looking for essential services, and then they want to have their own basic things in line, and then they will go and buy real estate or maybe jewelry or things like that. So where do you see the market going? And also, what kind of technologies changes you have seen in this industry from past 10, 15 years?
Technology has played a role in the background because now there are a lot of services with which transparency has come in. So technology users use to do a better survey to know what they have bought. They can track their purchase online, and they can have a estimate of the value of their purchase at any point of time. So yeah, technology has made even jewelry industry very transparent and reliable as compared to the previous years. So first there was transparency in the pricing, and now there's transparency in how it's being communicated to the customers. Mm-hmm. So and the increase definitely, and so much of synthetic stones from all over the world. So technology has helped to give a certain relief to the clients. So still, people who want to invest in the better lot, they're able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's become one more international. Yes, we're at the hour here, and I just want to do some quick introductions for people who just joined us on IBMTV. We have Ankit Kandlar from New Delhi, India, who's a director at IBMTV. Ben Coates, who's from Great Britain, not the lesser United Kingdom. Jim Roberts joining us from Wilmington, North Carolina, the beautiful beaches, although right now he's hanging out in the forest. Chris Berger, who's from North Carolina somewhere, but the thing is, he's defending Charlotte at this point in time. By the way, I have a defense of Charlotte. everybody works there because there's no beaches or mountains to go to, but that's another story. That's a problem I have with Wilmington. Too beautiful, you know. Who's going to work and spend time at the beach? But another story. Anyway, Jim Eade from the Silicon slopes of Silicon Valley, actually in the San Francisco Bay Area with the Eade Foundation. Willie Hill from Melbourne, Australia, mate. You know, you say mate, and then they all love you in Australia. Runs Startup Australia and also Startup Europe. So he's got like about 20,000 people that he's managing, and he's going to call them down. Sharif has just joined us from Malaysia. He's a PhD scholar from Malaysia. And then, of course, we have Artie from New Delhi also as well. I'm going to pinpoint Sharif because we have some people from all over the world in startups. What is the startup community doing in your neck of the woods in Malaysia, Sharif?
Yes, yes. Malaysia, actually, I told you before that we have a very good ecosystem. We called it Cyberjaya. So like when Malaysian government like Mahathir Mohamad established the Cyberjaya, he was a big fan of technology, and actually he implemented a lot of technological things in Malaysian ecosystem. So he tried to learn from Silicon Valley and establish the Cyberjaya. So they have a magic. Magic is Malaysian Global Innovation and Creativity Center. So with the collaboration of Stanford University, they have very good ecosystem. And in that area, many startups from Malaysia, not only Malaysia, I want to say the Asia Pacific, Malaysia, Singapore, even Vietnam, Indonesia, Cambodia, many other countries, even different startup from India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, they also joining there. And they have very good ecosystem because in Malaysia is a very good place for business. Even strategically, if you think that Malaysia is not so far from China, not so far from India, they have a better infrastructures and everything, I want to say world class. If you compare to Europe and America and Australia, so when there are many actually tech company, even beside this startup and other things, many multinational company like Microsoft, Google, Facebook, everybody has their IBM, everybody has their office in Cyberjaya. So business wise, I discuss with many entrepreneurs and many startup, those who growing their business. I find that they are very innovative, and they from there they get very good access in Asia Pacific market. So from Asia Pacific, I think 1/3 of the population living there. So I think their future is very good, especially technology and other things. And most important thing is that in COVID-19 situation, Malaysia playing a very important role, and they have their credibility. They show the global arena that how to handle COVID-19 situation. By this way, I think they are now in very positive momentum with the startup and technology and many other business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're just going to repeat the numbers so that the Americans get this, because they don't seem to get it here. Neither do the Europeans, their mate over there. But here's the reality of it. Okay, the U.S. and Europe are doing a horrible job containing COVID-19. Where he is in Malaysia, Sharif, with a population of 32 million, have a total amount of deaths, 125 COVID-19 deaths. In Australia, where you're at, mate, I don't think you're even over 1,000 deaths in Australia. Okay, the Australians and the Malaysians, the Japanese kick the Europe and Americans' tail when it comes to COVID-19. It shows how bad we are. So since I'm not going to pick on America, so I'm beating us up pretty bad, I'll pick on Great Britain, who's we know is the real problems in the world start at Great Britain. They owned India at one time. They owned us. Right, Jim? They owned us. Okay, they owned Australia. They owned Malaysia. I mean, you know,
they missed Thailand.
They missed Thailand. Yeah, they didn't get Thailand for some reason. But we know that they're the real creators of all problems in the world. So, what's going on with Great Britain on COVID-19, Ben? Since you guys messed it up and we followed your lead, what are you guys doing over there now?
Firstly, the owning situation, it's more like borrowed, if we're honest. We borrowed certain places than owned. Owned sounds a bit like it's quite dramatic. Yeah, rented, Jim. Yeah, rented temporarily.
Rented India. Just remember that, Ian. It was just a rent. You were just a rental unit. Sharif, Malaysia, you're just a rental unit for the people in Great Britain.
Just a piece of the jigsaw, just a piece of the jigsaw. But as for COVID-19 and business, really, the truth is it's a mess. It's a complete mess. Our events industry was due to go back on the 1st of August. That got delayed 2 weeks to which should be this Saturday the 15th. Last night there was a huge protest. There was a lot of people out on the streets with using hashtag We Make Events. Very peaceful, but a huge protest across the country. And there was things like putting the flight cases they use up against town halls. Turning a lot of buildings red across the country, and he got a lot of coverage. Of course, the events industry is the first to close, the last to go back. So we're at crunch point now for the events industry, and the problem we have is if you don't protect the event organisers with the experience, where are the new back going to get experience from? And experience at events with now. And there's somebody off to an event. There you go. But the problem, of course, with experiencing events, if you don't have the people with experience, you can cause mass problems, health and safety wise. Obviously COVID-19 wise as well, social distancing. I've just helped a good friend of mine do a 6-week run of driving events that were very successful. But the problem you get is customer confidence. Once people have been once or twice, they came back. But it was actually getting people there the first time that was the issue, and getting it's just confidence. People know the events, they know the organizer, but they're not confident about what the country is doing as a whole. And of course, whenever you do an event, you're dealing with people, and people can be a massive asset, but can also be a massive problem. So we are hitting crunch point because now people are going to start contributing towards their national insurance and their pensions in the UK. So that is a crunch point now, where the end of August payments are due in. All the what we're calling furlough is due to stop, so the government are about to stop paying people's wages.
Okay.
So yeah,
basically, you guys have been doing a horrible job containing COVID-19.
We officially hit recession today.
Okay, but the thing is, we know somebody who's even done a worse job, and we're going to make this American defend the Americans. Jim Eade, why is it that you guys messed up so bad on COVID-19? I mean, come on. 160,000 people dead.
Well, there's a fundamental lack of leadership is one. And we had a guest on, Sabi, from the Netherlands, and he was talking about a consistent message that was being generated in that country. And that consistent message could change based on new data, but it was a consistent message. And our messaging has been all over the place, and people don't know who to trust anymore. And any new information that comes out, people go, well, that's opposite of what they said 2 months ago. So they don't believe anything that comes out now. Sure. So, and also we call it the United States of America, but we're acting like it's the divided states of America. Some states are doing one thing, some states are doing another, and there's no consistent messaging coming out for the country. There's no pandemic team that is saying this is what will help everyone if we all did this. And even if they did have that, we probably wouldn't follow the recommendations anyway.
Okay. All right. So we listened to two of the screw-up countries, the United States and UK. Let's listen to two of the countries that did it right. Let's go to Australia, mate. Why is it that Australia kicks our tail when it comes to COVID-19?
The whole of Australia would have, but I don't think Victoria has done that. Victoria is on the other end of the spectrum. We kind of let the controls get out of our hands, and that's why we're in this stage for lockdown. The other states, they're doing fine. They're doing quite well. They're down to stage 2, some of them in stage 1, but they're not accepting Victorians.
Oh, really? Okay, so they banned the Victorians in Melbourne, mate. Okay, what about Sharif, Malaysia? Why are you guys doing such a good job compared to the UK and the United States and the UK?
Okay, I want to give a neutral explanation because I'm actually not a Malaysian, I'm actually come from abroad. I'm finishing my PhD here, doing my business and other things in Malaysia. So basically when 2009, I first come to Malaysia, even I was in Britain and other countries. I visited different countries around the world and I try to understand the ecosystem and other things. But when I first visit Malaysia, I think that they are growing. Yes, every country has challenges and problems, but they have some master plan. So what's the master plan? Master plan is they have a very specific policy, let's say healthcare system. It's not from now, from the many years they have consistent healthcare system. And not only that, they have very good infrastructure, let's say hospital, research centers, university. This is a whole ecosystem they are working. Yes, Singapore is a very good, but Singapore is a small amount of populations, and they have a very good branding. But beside that, Malaysia, long time, they are actually step by step they are improving. And in their policy, I always say there is a most of their administrator, their doctors, and everyone they graduated and from, let's say, from UK or USA or this kind of country, even Australia. But when they build up their policy, let's say Mahathir Mohamad actually playing a very important role for developing Malaysian nation, I want to say. So when they build up their policy, they strategically follow Japan, and Mahathir Mohamad is a big fan of Japan. So what they do, they try to learn from other country, and when they implement it, let's say I'm from Bangladesh. When Bangladesh has very good microfinance institute and this policy, they also adapt these things with their own way. So they learn from the other country, and when they adapt and implement these things with their own way, let's say we are talking about Cyberja, Magic, Malaysian Global Innovation and Creativity Center. They have a knowledge partner like Stanford University. But when they build up their own ecosystem, they build up it by their own way, one cultural way, with their own cultures and everything. So they try to learn all of the best things from around the world, and they build up their ecosystem. I think now this ecosystem is very much effective, and they have more sustainability. That is the reason. Even if see, they do not go for war. They do not go for too much of international political chaos. They do not go for more international negative politics. This, that. No, they just focus on their country. They just focus on their build up their nations, and they more focus on economical sustainability. I think now they just prove themselves, because from the beginning you see that many countries actually were confused. Many governments and the policymakers and the doctors, someone say wear mask, someone said no, you do not have to wear mask. But if you see from the beginning, Malaysian healthcare system, they are very consistent. How to give treatment, how to manage the supply chain management, how to handle this COVID-19, and they have very good professional team. Politicians, they support their professional team, let's say doctors and other these things, and they play a very good role. That is the things. I think they have a combination of good policy, good infrastructures, and good research, and they try to learn from other country. This is the thing they are getting more success, and I believe so.
Yeah, and the thing is, see that's what I think is pretty important, what you last said, learning from other countries. Because yes, when I talk to the people in the United States about Malaysia, they draw a blank. Like, where is Malaysia? What are you talking about? What do you mean they only 100? You know where it is, Jim.
I have an iPhone.
Oh, you have an iPhone. Yeah, so yeah, you want to know where Malaysia is? Look it up on your iPhone. It knows everything. Yeah, look it up on Google. But we just, here in the United States, we just don't look beyond the borders. As a matter of fact, it was so poor here that what they did is they said, we'll have the states compete against each other for the best policy. The United States states. Stupid. Because the thing is, all you have to do is look internationally. And if you look internationally, you can see the countries that are doing well. And Ankit posts them almost every day. Maybe Ankit, you can share that post. You can see the countries that are doing very well and the countries that are doing poorly. One example was Sweden, how great Sweden was doing. They have no government interference. Sweden's doing horrible. Okay, it's absolutely stinks. As a matter of fact, they're worse than North Carolina. Their death rate is twice as much as North Carolina with the same population base. So yes,
Norway.
What?
Compare them to Norway. Norway's doing much better.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, here was the anecdotal evidence, Jim. People were wanting to show that, well, we don't have to do anything. We'll let people make their own decisions. Horrible. Okay, because Sweden's death rate is twice as much. Yes, they have that policy, but it's certainly not a stellar example. As a matter of fact, none of the European countries are. They all suck. And then the thing is, U.S. isn't much better. But then when you go to the Asian countries, demographically, the Pan-Asian market, doing a lot better. Just what you're saying, Sharif. They look at Japan. Japan has very few I think they have like 8 deaths in coronavirus on a population of 200 million. Okay,
Yes.
they're lockstep and serious about it. In this country, we're not lockstep and we're not serious about it. Look at what happened in Sturgis. A bunch of motorcyclists get together. Oh, well, we're just going to have some freedom. Yeah, you'll have freedom when you're on a vent here in the next couple of weeks, you know, when they're burying you. I mean, it's just really, really bad. And the media doesn't call them out. The media goes, well, I guess it's okay here. So the thing is, here we're getting the stats that we so richly deserve, which are absolutely horrible because nobody here takes it seriously. That's like a bloody joke. Now, the correct thing to do is what the Big Ten and the Pac-12 did. They shut down football. It is not what I want to see because I love American football. But is it the correct adult decision? Absolutely. We don't make adult decisions here. We make emotional, non-rational, horrible decisions when it comes to this, and we're seeing the results. And that's just the bloody name of the game. So Sharif, whenever people in the United States come up and they give the anecdotal evidence of Sweden, you know what they're trying to do? Sustain their stupid ideological position that I can ignore COVID-19. That's what they're doing. And so they're grabbing any evidence they can to support it. And there's always some study out there somewhere that say masks don't work. Now, let me ask you this, since your country does work, do you guys wear masks in Malaysia?
Yes, definitely. These things I want to add. From the beginning, I said that Malaysians, doctor, policymaker, very focused. From the beginning, they said you have to wear mask, you have to maintain social distancing, and you cannot go outside. If you go to outside, that we will go and fine you, and we will send you jail. Yes. Yes, it's happened. There is no choice. Like 100% of the population is not obedient about government law, rules, and regulation. But Malaysia show that Malaysian people, especially, I want to give them thanks because last 5-6 years I am in Malaysia, but Malaysian people is very much peaceful. Like their government said, okay, you have to follow these things. They follow. This is the collaborations they are trying to do, the government, and they help them. So they are 100%. Still, if I have to go to outside, I have to wear mask. I have to maintain social distancing. When I go to outside from my condominium, I have to follow different law, rules, regulations, many hygienic issues. When I come back, I have to maintain even the transportations, even different office, everywhere, even different office and everywhere we have to follow SOP. So this is I think this very fundamental thing from the day one. I do not find that Malaysian policymakers and government, they are not confused. From the beginning, they said you have to do it, and people do it.
Yeah, Jim, is it affecting the startup community? Because I've seen like a slowdown in that community because of COVID-19. In other words, how are you able to go to these conferences? How are you able to meet with people that are doing startups, and how do you get entrepreneurs together with each other under this COVID-19 situation? What do you do over there?
So all of the conferences have gone virtual. I attended an event 2 weeks ago called Dig South, based in Charleston, South Carolina. They did a really good job about keeping the energy up during the whole 2 days. Next week, there's actually going to be a 10-day conference next week, all virtual, called the 3686, based in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's only $60. So it's quite a bargain if you can get something out of it.
$60? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So, really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get our startups that we support either through the nonprofit events or through Whale, and try to get them to be a part of these conferences where, they may have been a little cost prohibitive in the past to, register for a $300 conference, go get a hotel room, and if you had any travel. And now it's very affordable. So actually the Charleston conference featured only 5 companies presented at a startup pitch, and 2 of them were related to what we do, which for an out-of-state conference is a pretty good impact. Otherwise, I have a podcast. I have a startup news website just for Wilmington. I do op-ed writing for a bunch of different locations, and people follow those articles and they follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn, and that's how I'm finding a new set of startups because none of us are traveling.
Okay. Yeah. So the thing is, everything's been moved to virtual. How do you find that experience? Because what I see in the startup community, what they like to do is go listen to startups, and they all like to get drunk afterwards. How does that work in the virtual world anyway? In other words, the liquor doesn't flow, I guess.
No, but it's a lot cheaper at home. So, they just have, I'll say the way Charleston did it was really good. Instead of having just one person on the screen, they would have two people. So one is kind of the keynote that really has the content, and then have a narrator or a moderator to make sure the energy is maintained. So the keynote speaker in Charleston was great. But the narrator really kind of brought out the questions that the people attending virtually really wanted to hear. And I thought that was a really good job. They also, if it was just one person on the screen, then they would have Q&A for 15 or 30 minutes after the speech. And that kept the audience alive because they wanted to ask questions. And, the best questions often come from what's said on stage versus, hey, here's a question out of left field that I need an answer to. So you better pay attention to what the speaker is saying. And I thought the conference was really well done. The most memorable line, if I may, was, if 2020 is the fertilizer, let that fertilizer grow you for some new skills for 2021. So they had I thought that was a really good way to look at it, because I've certainly added some new skills since COVID-19 started. I didn't have a podcast. I really didn't know how to use WordPress. I've certainly helped raise my profile since March, and a lot of it has to do with writing. Many of these newspapers really don't have many writers left on staff. So if you write an op-ed that's meaningful, they're going to run it because they need the content. So I have found there's certainly not a lack of need for what I do in connecting startups to the resources they need.
Well, Jim, I've got to ask you a question, because on the internet, you don't look 6'4". So you don't have that impressive ability to influence people physically. But I do want to know, if, say, I'm an idiot and I've been investing my money in foundations and things like that all my life, and so I only have like 25, maybe 75K to invest. Are you interested in an investor like me?
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, of course, you have to have a certain net worth to become an investor. So you have to either have $250,000 income per year, and that can be matched with your spouse, or you have to have $1 million net worth just to be a legal angel investor. Secondly, yes, most of our investments, frankly, are $25,000. But that's, of course, where the highest risk is, because we're usually the first money in. So there's a very common saying in angel investing is, find your friends, family, and fools for your first seed round that you need. And that's kind of where we are. We're usually the first money in. But again, so if you think of what I do, I create events that create the funnel where the best entrepreneurs can come through, and we invest in the cream of all the entrepreneurs that we see at our events. So I usually have a long-standing relationship with the entrepreneurs. I kind of get to know them. I see how well they follow through. And if, I develop a relationship, I like their technology, I ask around other mentors to talk with them to get their feedback. And that's really kind of what we have to do for our due diligence before we're willing to potentially make an investment. But yeah, I mean,
so if I am,
startups are starving for $25,000 to $50,000, so they would love to have that kind of capital come on board.
Yeah, and also what I'm hearing you say is that you scan a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, and then you do maybe a deep dive on some of them. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a due diligence, just like any other group would do. I mean, if the investment that I'm telling you goes bad, that's not going to reflect well on me, and you're probably not going to invest through my group again. So I need to do the best due diligence that I can to make sure that I'm only putting the best deals in front of you. And I mean, there's not a lack of deal flow. That is not a problem. We are.
Right.
Raleigh was just named one of the top 10 global ecosystems in the world. So I'm in the center of it. We have the world's oldest and largest entrepreneur support organization here called CED. And I've been involved with what they do, and I've been trying to replicate what they do all around the state. And I'm actually about to start a consulting business where I do ecosystem consulting. So I help other cities who don't yet have an ecosystem or have a weak ecosystem. I go in and, spend a year trying to build up their events and these other 7 things that ecosystems have to have to build better startups that are worthy of investment, and then hopefully we'll have an exit for the investors.
Good for you. I'm very impressed. But Willie, I cut you off. You had a question.
In the startup space where I'm coming from, we have mind, body, spirit. Mind is the planning, body is the action, spirit is the resilience. Fall down today, lift one leg up, take a step forward, repeat. Okay, so you do that over and over and over again. Okay, what's lacking in the startup space is the resilience. Okay, a lot of people have the mind capacity. Yeah, they have high IQ, but man, if shit's staring them in the face, they wouldn't know because it's shit. So where I'm coming from is the mind, the body, and the spirit. These 3 have to go together. You can have high IQ. Yeah, I totally agree with you, high IQ. But you notice with high IQ people, they tend to argue the undefendable position. Okay, whereas if you have mind, the planning, body, the actual work you're doing, and spirit, the resilience to take one step forward, fall down, take another step forward, get up, take another step forward. And that's how it's done. Mind, body, spirit within the startup space. That's why I started SURF. SURF is Startup Resilience Formula, where you step up. Lift your hand up and say, yeah, I fucked up in here. Let me take advice from you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Billy, I have a question for you.
Ankit.
Okay, go ahead, Ankit.
So I mean, when you say startups and we have to be resilient and we have to start every day and we have to, always welcome the failure because failure gives you a lot of success and all those stuff. But when you work in a team in a startup community, what is the role of a leader in a startup basically? Because the leader gives a team and they bring together on the same platform and then they work it out and then they have a lot of failures and successes. So where do you rate that leader in a startup implementation?
The team within the startup's sentiment is in the spirit, mind, body, spirit. The team is the untold factor within the team is when people get together, you raise your resilience. When people get together, you raise your resilience. Your resilience grows. And that's how it works. You'll notice that on your own, when you're trying to build a startup, you fuck up big time. Sorry, I'm speaking French here. Sorry to the French guys.
That's okay.
Ankit has 3 seconds to delete
But yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens. When you're on your own, you screw up big time. But when you're with others, their energy melts in with your energy, and that lifts you up. That lifts the bar up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to ask.
And this happens when you. Okay. So where I'm coming from is okay. You have a startup. Send one of your board of directors into another space. So let him enter into your space. Okay. So that sometimes you may not like what you're hearing, but you have to hear it. Okay. You may not like it, but you have to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody's sitting there and telling you, hey, this is what's happening. Okay. You may not like it, but that's the reality of it.
Well,
and And if this is circulated around within all the startup community, so a spot in your board of directors will be somebody from outside, totally left field from where you are, and telling you, hey, what you're doing is wrong, or what you're doing is right.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
what
William,
I
what's the real fuel for a startup? What is the real fuel for a startup? Is it a team? Is it a funding? Or is it for people working on it? Or it's an idea, basically?
Okay, let me go back to square one. You cannot get funding if you don't have a team. Okay, ask the angel investors if they're going to give you money for on your own. No, they're not going to do that.
Right.
They give
Right.
money or they fund teams. Okay, and they need to see that your team is in synchronicity with each other, that everybody works together. Okay,
Yeah,
and then
we're like at the half hour.
on an energy level that raises everybody up.
I'm just going to do some quick introductions. Kimberly Calhoun with IBMTV in Raleigh, Durham, and Kit Kandlawar, who's with IBMTV in New Delhi. Jim Roberts, who's actually works in the startup community and recently is involved in a venture fund about $600 million in Wilmington, North Carolina for fintech, which I think is very interesting. Jim Eade, the Socialist Republic of Silicon Valley, which has more money than they do have startups. Ben Coates from Great Britain, who was our overlord at one point in time of all the countries that are here. Willie Hill from Melbourne, Australia, who runs Startup Australia with about 10,000 followers and about another 10,000 in Startup Europe. Sharif, who is actually from a PhD scholar in Malaysia, and Katel Shah, who's actually in the fintech industry, just joined us from, I think he's in the United States, right in Maryland or somewhere, Katel. Tell us about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Yep. So I work in the payment industry for last like 12 to 13 years and staying in Maryland, Virginia, meaning DC, Virginia, Maryland, that's my area, and live in Maryland, which is close to Baltimore, and work for a company called Shiji Payments. Shiji is the Chinese-based company, but it's worldwide. So working as a solution engineer. And like having a good payment industry knowledge. So anyone needs any help or any questions regarding the payments, feel free to reach out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Can you send me some payments?
Yeah, I can take the money from your account and process to your account and take some money in between, cut.
Couple of nickels for you.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do, because I know Jim's got to leave here in a minute, is a few things. One, I like to invite Jim to bring some of his startups. If he's got some startups that are going to be pitching some ideas, please bring them to IBM TV. We also have some venture capitalists that will start coming on Wednesdays. But also, if you're interested in, I know you have a podcast. If you want to bring it here, we also have podcast Thursdays. But let's talk a little bit about, you said that you're an angel investor too. You give, anywhere from 25 to 100K to these startups. What is your expectation when you hand them that? Because you're that first stage, I'm going to help you get to the next level. Is it sometimes just an idea they have, or, you've helped some people go all the way, or seen them go all the way. But what are you expecting when you put in the 25 to 100K?
I mean, sure. I mean, to be clear, I'm not an investor. I simply manage the angel process. I run an angel network, but it's not my money. So, yeah, when we invest $25,000 to $50,000, we're getting a percentage of the company, and then, your typical run is 5 to 7 years, and you want a 10x or more return on your angel investment. So if you're making a $25,000 investment, 7 years from now, we would really love to get a $250,000 check back from our investment. And along the way, again, I'm much more hands-on with the entrepreneurs than most angel networks, because I have the nonprofit, which I'm much more known for, is the big events that we have for entrepreneurs. So I'm helping them with media relations. I'm helping them maybe find some additional talent, maybe finding them some mentors. I'm getting them involved in pitch contests. I'm probably introducing them to some prospects and clients. I've really had to work hard to raise the profile and be an advocate for Wilmington entrepreneurs because we are 2.5 hours east of everything. We're near nothing. If you take Raleigh and then Wilmington, there's 2.5 hours of nothing but farmland. So I have had to create a two-way highway between Raleigh and Wilmington where we've had 60 investors from Raleigh come to our events on Thursdays at 4:00 because I know if I invite them Thursdays at 4, they're going to spend their weekend at the beach house and probably spend a little more time with any of the entrepreneurs that they get to know. So that is I call that the coastal corridor is what I call that, is that kind of two-way road between Wilmington going after Raleigh resources and then Raleigh resources coming in kind of educating the Wilmington entrepreneurs. And so that's really been very good because we're just as close to Raleigh as any other city in North Carolina. Charlotte's 2.5 hours away. Greensboro's an hour and a half away. But we're really doing a much better job of connecting to those resources than the other cities do. You know, we talked about Charlotte. Charlotte's known as the great state of Mecklenburg because they don't really participate in the rest of the state. They're kind of their own state. And so they don't participate in events in the rest of the state. And so they suffer because of that, because Raleigh has much more resources around startup entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's too, you know, we've got the 3 universities right here that creativity spawns from the students as well. But one of the things I want to say is Wilmington is beautiful. I know that you host some of your events at the brewery there, which is a lot of fun and entertaining and good meeting people. But Wilmington, and then you got Carolina Beach, Brit Donuts, no other place in the world. I don't even like donuts, but I will eat Brits. And the Tiki Bar, a lot of good seafood. So there's a lot of good reasons to go there.
There's a lot of good reasons to go to Wilmington.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you. I'm like so pro Wilmington. It should be the biggest and best city in the state of North Carolina. It's right on the beach, beautiful place. Charlotte, nah, are you kidding me?
Well,
and the only advantage of Charlotte is that if you're there, you have nothing to do because everything's so far away that you'd work. You know, where Wilmington, it could be distracting because you have beautiful beaches and things to do. But for me, I'm in Wilmington. I'm not in Charlotte. Forget that. Stupid.
Well, I like so Nick and I have been down there for Jim's events, and I'm hoping that maybe we can attend one of your online events. I don't know that, you know, I'm excited to see how those are turning out. But I'm looking forward to seeing, like you said, let 2020's fertilizer turn into 2021 true growth. And we've got to focus on that. We cannot let this get us backwards. We have to drive it forwards. And there's so many things for technology to do. Yes, and Kit.
Yeah, Anchor.
I just wanted to know, Jim, that apart from, funding the startups, do you also consult startups if they have any kind of business-related issues, or if they want some expansion around the world, or anything related to operations or things like that, or maybe a technology help they need? Would you help in that as well, or just pure funding portfolio?
Yeah, so I went to, before I went to Wilmington, I worked for the North Carolina Department of Commerce in their International Trade Division, and I represented companies in infotech and alternative energies and aerospace. So that is the role of that organization that's based in Raleigh, is to help North Carolina companies sell more overseas. So I certainly still know those people that work in that department, and I'm very proactive in helping them try to export more. Yes.
Yeah, and Jim, why I asked you this question, because we have a lot of partners around the world, be it Google or be it Amazon, Facebook, things like that, and all the startups require this. But we also have a payment partner with Ketul, and then everyone who is doing startup, they need some kind of payments or something related to the businesses. So maybe we can collaborate with that, and I think Ketul can help and deliver whatever payment solutions those startups require. What do you think, Ketul? How we can bridge that gap?
Yeah, actually, I have actually two questions for Jim. One is who can actually join this kind of like, your shows or like whenever it happens in North Carolina? How, meaning like, if we have an idea, to uh, start up, and if you'd like to participate in this kind of show, what's the requirements on that? Or how do we get that into that? That was the
Yeah.
first question.
So I want to be really clear. My fund, my angel network, which is not a fund, they invest in their own money. They choose on their own. So it's not a
Mm-hmm.
fund, it's an angel network. We are not part of the $600 million fintech fund. But my email is there in the chat. I have a website. It's 91omg.biz. 910 is the area code for Wilmington, so I kind of did a play on words and 91OMG. I have a podcast called 3 Tips of Advice that you can find on the website. I have a newsletter that goes out probably every 2 weeks. It's slowed down since COVID because I'm not having events, so I really don't need to send out a newsletter unless something exciting happens, like the big IPO out of Encino. So other than that, check out cednc.org. They're the world's largest entrepreneur organization. It's based here in Durham. They are not a statewide organization. They're not an national organization, but they do the best job in the country in helping entrepreneurs succeed. So,
yep.
I'm part
there's
of
an
them. I
organization-
started out with them too. They're
Yeah.
very good at organizing people. They really are.
Yeah. There's an organization called Dig South in Charleston. There is the 3686 conference that happens next week out of Nashville, Tennessee. There's these kind of organizations. There's one in Atlanta. It's called Venture Atlanta, and you can find everything else related to that through Venture Atlanta. But each major southern city has some kind of entrepreneur support organization.
Well,
Yeah, actually, I mean,
oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, I was going to say I would be impressed if you could help me organize chess players.
look, he doesn't do the impossible dream. Okay. So, he organizes people that are into doing business. And by the way, Wilmington is a great place to go to. So next time you have an event there, we have a real event there. I'd encourage our people from IBMTV to fly in from all over the world to Wilmington because, like Ankit, if you came into Wilmington,
contact Jim.
Yeah, contact Jim. It's a beautiful city. You're right on near the beach. It's right on a river. It's a gorgeous place to hang out. Now, if he does an event in Charlotte, it's just a city. You're wasting your time. You're in a bloody hotel. The best thing the only water you're going to see that's worth anything is the pool. There's nothing in Charlotte. It's a waste of time.
Charlotte's getting
it's a waste of time. But if you go to Wilmington, Nick, it's not a waste of time.
I'm saying it again, Nick. I've said it before, and I'm saying it again. What happens with this small, indiscriminate place is it's because they're that. They're indiscriminate place. That's where they don't have to push shit uphill. You go to Silicon Valley, and it's forever. Hey, when
I know that. So Silicon Valley, you're taking.
So when I'm in Charlotte, hey, what can I do for you?
But Charlotte has Bank of America and Wells Fargo headquarters.
That's what they did. They're the sole city that bought banks. I mean, come on.
It's the banking network of the United States. I don't know about the world.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Cattell. If you want to hang out with stuffed shirts in banks, go to Charlotte. Enjoy the stuffed shirts. If you want to hang out with people that are doing something, go to.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. I want to add that the
go to Wilmington.
A lot of millions of people. So make sure you get invested in the chess world as well. Jim is a pleasure to have on board, and I think what we ought to do is see if he'll come back and bring some of his startup talks. Right, talking to the startups. He has good success in getting startups to show up at his events. I've got videos of his events, and the startups do show up. So
it's very interesting to know what kind of startups that his company is investing, and we can take it from there. I guess if they Like let's say if they are opening like any kind of like a new website or stuff like that, like more e-com kind of solutions, then also like payments are a big part of it.
Yes.
So it depends on what kind of solution that or what kind of startup he has. Yeah.
Any startup will need to have a website, will need to have a payment gateway. Full
Yeah.
stop.
No, that is true. But like, there are like depends on like what kind of business they are. Like, some businesses are more like
irrespective of whatever
all
they're doing,
businesses need payment.
all business will need to have a payment gateway and need to make
like
payments.
like for
Otherwise,
example,
they're not there.
No, I agree. Like, I'm thinking in terms of like a payment perspective. Like, so for example, if you have a startup, like some kind of a server that you give access like a monthly basis, right? It's like a revenue kind of thing. So every month I get only one transaction from one customer. If you have a e-com kind of business, like, dollar store or something, I get multiple transactions in a day. So for the
Be,
payment world, that is
be
actually more.
grateful you get one transaction. Some places
So
don't
Billy,
have
you know that
no transaction.
Billy, you know that Ketu is only looking for multi-million-dollar businesses, and that too with multiple transactions. He's not interested in one transaction per month.
Okay.
No, so that's why like it depends on like because that's where like payments company makes money, right? If they have more transactions, we get more money. If you have like one or couple of transactions, then it's really hard to cut that share. So it depends like how the network is. Sometimes we also give like a $20 a month kind of a solution, right? So we give the payment device and we charge only $20 a month, and that is like you can do that many transactions if you want to. Like, so one transaction you still pay $20 a month, or if you do like 100 transactions you still pay. So it's still some money is there. Like, I just want to know like how to scale the businesses. So
Yes,
we know.
I totally agree with you, Katul.
Yeah.
My problem is I've got a fintech product. I've got two fintech products.
Mm-hmm.
The dilemma with these fintech products is I'm going to go with them for the whole of their life. First 5 years. First 5 years is the amount of money they make, the documents they need, the legal documents they need, the due diligence they need, and that's what I'm offering to them on a platter on the platform. Okay, so this is what I'm doing for you. The payment schedule is what's problem. Most startups don't have any money.
Yep.
So where do I go? The guy doesn't have any money. I'm offering a service. How do I get my payments? So I need to offer them, okay, the first one is I'll take 8% equity in your business, and you as the startup get first call in recouping this 8% that I have. So when you go to your Series A or Series B investment, you can buy me out. Okay, you buy me out, and I in 5 years' time, I'm out of you. Hey, okay, everything's fine. Okay, and that's the dilemma. All startups don't have money to start off with, and that is the underlying problem that a lot of people don't understand. They come with the service. Oh, I can do this for you. I can do this for you. The startup doesn't have any money.
Sure. And that's why that is exactly like your point is correct. So that's why like for if I link my payment piece on it, so I have like two kind of solutions. One, let's say like you have a startup but you don't have like any like store or like a e-com thing. It's more like some subscription kind of business. Like it depends on what business is. What we can offer you is like we can give you a link, right, on with you, and anytime you have to charge money from somebody, like for example from Ankit, like every month, all you have to do is send that link to him, right? And once he click that link, he can pay through you over that link. So technically you don't need any hardware, you don't need anything. Let's say you have a startup but it's more like a day-to-day basis, then you need like some kind of a device that also we can provide. So depends on like what
You
business
are assuming that within 1 month that the startup is making money. You are assuming that because in 1 month the startup is not making money. He's still building his minimum viable product. Okay, he's not made any money. He's still building a product. He's still testing the customer. Hey, is this what you want? Is your problem? Am I fixing your problem? Okay. If I'm not fixing your problem, how can I be paying money in 1 month's time? I'm not.
That's true. Yeah, completely.
I'm not.
Yeah, and
that's why people is not looking for startups. He's looking for ready-made businesses and brick and mortar stores.
So I'm looking at a 5-year plan. Okay. In 5 years' time, I will pay back. I will give back my share. Okay. So the startup has this idea. Okay. What I'm offering the startup is, in 5 years' time, I will sell back to you. You have the first call to buy back the equity that I have bought of you. So what I'm selling to the startup is, in 5 years' time, 8% of the equity that you have given me, I will sell back to you. So that means in the space of 5 years, I only have one transaction.
That's true.
The startup doesn't have any money. He just has an idea. Okay. So I'm holding the startup's hand and I'm saying, okay, walk with me. I'm going to give you all the marketing expertise that I have. I'm going to give you all the due diligence that I have. I'm going to give everything that you need to be successful. I'm going to give you that. I know you don't have any money. I know that. You giving me 8 or 15% equity in your business, that's fine. Okay, but 8 and 15% means nothing because you don't have any money, and I'm just taking paper value of what you're saying.
Yep. So how do we find investors? For the startups, like do they have like this kind of shows and stuff like that? How
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a startup show that I invest in startups with no money coming forward. If I like the idea. If I don't like the idea, hasta la vista. See you later, baby.
That's true. Yeah.
But Ketan, I'll tell you one more thing. There are a lot of forums to get your funding done. You just have to be resilient, as Willie said. And if your startup is global, and if you have a reach, and if you have a plan that you can go global, and the numbers are correct, so they will definitely do it. But what I realized after listening to you is that, Willie, would you agree with me that if Ketul company or if Ketul tie up with investors and Ketul, because Ketul manages the payment, and based on the payment, we can do that analytics that what kind of payments are coming for the startup and what is the quality of payment and all those things. And based on that, the company will create a report and they will work closely with the investors so that investors are in a pretty good shape that they know what's happening in the startup. And that way, Ketul can be a mediator, and then that money will also help in with CG as well, because or whatever payment gateway we will use, that helps in doing that merger perfectly fine, because that's what I think so that would work. And both in the payment industry, because we are taking money from the investors, so as we are using the same platform, and we are also doing analytics. So I think that would be a good merger. What do you think?
Yep, I totally agree with you. So within Katul, within this context that this conversation that we've just had, from my perspective, you having one payment from me at the end of 5 years, but the startup is making money in between. So it's just not one-off payment. The startup, within, say, 6 to 9 months, the payment circle is start rolling. The payment circle is start rolling. They will start, they've engaged customers. The customers like their product, and they say, hey, yeah, I'm going to give you money. And that's where you come in. So within the 5-year cycle, I am one, but my startup is like, how much within the 5-year cycle? 500? 1,000? Hypothetically. But if I have 5 startups like that, so that's what, like in 5 years, there's like 10,000 engagements they've had with you. Okay, so it's not a one-off. From my perspective, it's a one-off from the startup. But if I have 5 startups, that's 5 one-offs for you. But the startup themselves, because what I'm doing is, beside holding the startup's hand, I'm also marketing the startups. So the startup will say, everywhere you go online, hey, this startup 1, startup 2, startup 3. Everywhere you go, you turn startup 1, you turn startup 1, you turn startup 1. Everywhere you go, you see startup 1.
No, makes sense. Yeah.
And that's the whole premise behind this. So people, the startup 1 is engaging a lot of people. A lot of people are buying into them. So the startup 1 will say, I am startup 1, and be authentic in my communication with my customer. So my customer believes in me.
Yep.
Okay. So when I say, hey, I'm startup 1, who's behind me? You'll have 50 hands up. Hey, I'm with this guy. I like what he's selling. I'm going to follow this guy.
Exactly.
You know,
Yep. That's how you get success.
And that's how it's done.
Yep.
So I'm holding startup 1's hand all the way. I'm holding startup 2's hand all the way. I'm holding startup 3's hand all the way. You know,
and that's why I said, like, I'm here, you know, in case anything needed, you know, from me. That is definitely we can help for any startups.
And that's what I'm envisaging. So post-COVID, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yep.
You know, anybody tells me otherwise, I say, hey mate, where have you been? This is post-COVID. We do things differently here. This is how we do it now.
Yeah. Good for you, Willie. Well, you know, Cattell was trying to tell me that he could transfer money from one account of mine to another account of mine, just taking a little bit. But then he told me I could make it up in volume. So, but I wasn't falling for that. But Cattell, do you think you could help startups by helping taking their transactions, even though you don't take that little bit for yourself for a while?
Yeah, meaning, as I said, right, we also have a lot of big customers, right? And they have their own pricing. And if you see that pricing is very less sometimes, because, you know, obviously we need, rather than like making money, we need the customers for us, right? So obviously it's a situation, right? It's a case by case study. Like, you know, when let's say the startup comes and like we also see that like, oh, this idea is really good and there's gonna be a big in future, stuff like that, we don't mind taking like a small, very like a tiny bit, but we can give that service. That's how we do for big customers. Exactly, we can do for startups, as long as, like, you know, after like let's say 2 years or 3 years, you know, obviously they're gonna be big or something and they wanted to stay with us, you know, that's all matters.
I
Yep.
totally agree with you.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's why I'll definitely, like, you know, be in touch with you guys and let me know in case like anything or any case by case we can take care. Like, you know, we can see what startup is and how that is, and like, you know, what exactly the solution they are looking for, how we can build the payment for them, right? And then we'll figure it out. Prices always comes at the very end. Like, first we need to understand a lot of other factors, and then we'll talk about the price, like, you know, with them, like, you know, what they can afford. So that's not an issue at all, you know.
But if Willie's behind it, then you're going to, you know, make money eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You never know if I will also join Willie on you know, start something new.
That's right.
I'm totally being the person that's selling is one, being authentic. He's genuine in his disclosure.
Yep.
You know, what he's telling you is from the heart.
Yep.
Okay. So there is a mind, the planning, body, the action, and spirit, the network that he has.
Yeah.
Because these things make for a successful startup. You know, a lot of startups you hear, they have the planning, they have the action, but no connection, no network. Okay. And that's why startups fail, because they just have the mind. Okay, yeah, I'm planning. And my product is the best product in the whole world. And the action, they're doing the action, but there's no network.
Yeah, it's idea and the network. These two are very important factor for startup.
Absolutely.
Money comes, team comes, eventually when you grow, everything comes, but the idea for your product and the connection, that is important. Like,
But Ketul, I'll tell you what, idea is also not important, because if you just replicate a successful startup from Australia to UK, or maybe a successful startup from US to Australia, that works as well. I mean, it's not about idea now; it's all about team and implementation, and then
Yes.
rest everything will follow. But you have to make sure that your
Absolutely.
idea could go global. If you want to be a unicorn, if you want to have a separate something like that, you have to go global, and that's what matters now. Because the more money you want, you have to think globally, and then you have to have that global reach. If you have an idea which is only for US, sometimes only like Jim Roberts would be interested. But if you want to have an idea which requires a lot of other countries, and suppose what we are doing on IBMTV. So we have investors around the world, and that's global. So there is no scale to it. So that's
yep,
what, and so idea is just a thing, because everyone has an idea. I have a lot of ideas. It's not that we don't have any ideas. So has Billy, but it's not easy to implement because of team and because of a lot of other factors. But we are resilient that we will do something or the other. We are still working on the ideas, making it foolproof, and working on the challenges, because that takes a lot of time. And when startups say that okay, we started this startup in 2019, I don't think so, because they started in 2015. They were doing a lot of back trails and a lot of failures and successes, and then they come up at 2019 where they are launching officially a legal entity to make it work, and that also takes around 6 to 9 months or 10 months or maybe a year or so to get revenue. But you
yep.
have to be consistent, and then you
No,
need to have you have to fail every day, then you will get success.
Yeah, no,
That's very
I
important to
agree
start.
that, but idea, what I have thought is, like, idea has to be like very realistic with the real time. Like,
Yes.
you don't
Absolutely.
want an idea like, oh, I'm gonna make an aeroplane which landed directly from Earth to the moon. Now that idea doesn't work because it doesn't have a realistic logic. But
I
for
completely
example, I'll give you the example, like very realistic. Like, everyone knows Sears, right? The store.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So Sears had
Bankrupt.
a business meeting in 2002, and one of the guy proposed a new vision that let's go to the e-com business. That time Sears CEO said that oh, he doesn't like the e-com business. He like to give customer that walk into the store, feel the product,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Now look at that, after 10 years or 15 years, where they are. They're closing
Yeah.
down their stores because everything is going to e-com. So
Yeah.
they had an idea, but
Yeah.
they don't have like a
They didn't
proper
put it into action.
connection, or like a the vision that that this is what exactly the world is going to go. So like right now we are talking about like contactless payment, right? It was there
Yeah.
since 2010 or 11. I remember that everyone discussing about like, oh, how do we implement contactless? This is 2020, like after 10 years, still a lot of companies are still talking. And I saw that recently there are like 5.8 billion credit cards has the ability to have a contactless, but
Contactless.
who's using contactless? Not that many customers. So now after COVID, is the process like took off now, like everyone wanted to do. So
Yeah.
that is the vision that now this is the time that like now move forward with. So
Well,
whoever is still thinking that no, I like my chip card, I like my swipe, they are
yeah.
way behind because
Yeah.
everything is gonna move forward.
Yes. I have a
So
Katul,
story. I
Katul,
have a
where
story
it's gonna
just
move
like that.
forward? Katul, where it's gonna move forward? Facial recognition. So I walk into the shop, recognizes my face. I walk out. I take whatever I want. Bang! It's already done.
yeah,
Face.
it's already implemented
But
now.
Billy,
I
you
just
know
got
that
time out,
apart from
guys.
facial recognition, there is one more thing to it. With your face, once you enter the shop, your stuff is already ready, because I know that what you want. So the package is already ready. So you don't have to buy everything. Just take a baggage, and that's about it.
But now there is little problem with the mask.
Wait
Face
a minute,
doesn't
guys.
recognize.
Time out.
No,
We
good
missed the
facial
top of the hour.
recognition
Willie, we
bypasses
missed
the
the top
mask.
of the hour. We should do an introduction, Ankit. We should do a round of introductions and then
Okay.
go forward with this
So
conversation.
it's about an hour on IBMTV Startup Wednesday, and we have Jim Aids joining us from California. He does a show with us, Chess Without Borders, and he's a part of our close-knit family in IBM. We have Willie, one of our board of advisors on IBMTV, and we are working on a lot of shows of startup. we'll start a show about Australia sometime soon whenever we get time. We have Ketul from payments industry and fintech, and we discuss about payments. And if anyone is interested about knowing more payments or anything, they are finding any issues or they're not able to collect their payments, contact Ketul. And then we have Vivian joining us from LA. She's a student, and she'll be talking about one of the top Chinese city today. So, what do you have, Vivian, for us today?
We have Suzhou City for today. So, shall I start?
Sure.
I'm gonna share my screen.
Okay. So Vivian will be showcasing one of the Chinese city today, Ketul.
Can you see? Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yep.
Okay. Great.
So how do you pronounce it? Suzhou?
Yeah, Suzhou. So I'm gonna give a brief introduction of Suzhou City. It is a major city located along the southeastern edge of Jiangsu province in eastern China, with a population of 10.72 million, bordered by the Yangtze River in the north, Shanghai in the east, Zhejiang province is in the south, and Lake Taihu in the west. Suzhou is a beautiful city that's easy to get to, and once you're here, hard to leave. Founded in 514 BC, Suzhou has over 2,500 years of history, with an abundant display of relics and sites of historical interest. Around AD 100, during the Eastern Han Dynasty, it became one of the 10 largest cities in the world, mostly due to immigration from northern China. Since major economic reforms began in 1978, Suzhou has become one of the fastest growing major cities in the world, with GDP growth rates about 14% in the past 35 years. With high life expectancy and per capita income, Suzhou's Human Development Index rating is roughly comparable to a moderately developed country, making it one of the most highly developed and prosperous cities in China. Suzhou is famous for its over 60 classical gardens, collectively a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The city has the most UNESCO recognized gardens in the world. The Humboldt Administrator's Garden, covering about 52,000 square meters, is the largest and most renowned. Due to its unique designs and ethereal beauty, the garden has garnered many special honors. It is listed as a World Cultural Heritage Garden, along with the Summer Palace in Beijing, the mountain resort of Chengde in Hebei province, and the Lingerie Garden in Suzhou. It is considered as one of China's four most famous gardens. No other classic garden in the country has been honored more than this one. The garden consists of eastern, central, and western sections, as well as some residences of the former owners. The residential houses are of typical style of Suzhou local residences, whose feature can be seen in the famous water township Zhouzhang, which is not far from Suzhou City. The site of the residences has been rebuilt as the garden museum now. As you can see the pictures from my PowerPoint, they are super pretty. And then I'm gonna introduce another one of the China's four most famous gardens, Lingerie Garden from Suzhou. The garden measures about 23,000 square meters, and it is divided into four themed sections that are called the Eastern Garden, Central Garden, West Garden, and North Garden. In this garden, you will be amazed by its striking architecture, perfectly combined corridors, artificial hills, rocks, and water features. The Central Garden is the oldest part, and it has buildings around the pond. The Eastern Garden has the minimum mountain called Shipping Peak that is modeled after Qiantai Mountain in Putao. The garden also showcases demonstrations of two UNESCO intangible world heritages called Pingtang and Guqin music. The best time to visit Injury Garden is in spring, when the weather is pleasant and the garden is full of vibrant trees and beautiful flowers, as you can see from the picture, the left picture. The right picture is called the moon gate because it's 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 circle like a moon. And then this beautiful building is Suzhou Museum. Sited on the northeast section of the historic quarter of Suzhou, the museum is adjacent to the landmark Zhongshanfu, a complex of 19th century historical residences, and the Garden of the Humble Administrator, a 16th century garden listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. While the museum carries over many of the geometric and visual elements that characterize place design, squares, rectangles, and pyramids, the design takes cues from traditional Suzhou architecture with its use of whitewashed plaster walls, dark gray clay tile roofs, and intricate garden architecture. The Suzhou Museum chose to be humble and blends itself with the context of the city. In addition, the museum complex mountains rather humble building heights, in accordance and acknowledgement to the historic surroundings, as the designer Pei put it in an interview with New York Times. In China, architecture and the garden are one. A Western building is a building and a garden is a garden. They are related in spirit, but they are one in China. And this is like from ancient time, Shantang Street, an ancient riverside pedestrian road in northwest Suzhou is very popular with tourists. From Changmen Gate in the downtown, it went northwest on the northern bank of the Shantang River and ends at scenic Tiger Hill. Shantang Street can be sectioned into two by Baitown Bridge. The east part from Dushan Bridge in Changmen. It is built up with houses and shops, while the west part from the Tiger Hill is natural landscape. The entire block features typical characteristics of South China in the lower reaches of the Yangtze River. The clear river meanders along under small arched bridges interspersed with wooden boats adrift, passing numerous old residences and shops on the bustling street. All the above is a picturesque re-rendering of a beautiful ancient water town in South China. It is ideally a place to stroll, try all kinds of local snacks, and pick up souvenirs. You should go boating to take in the street scene from a different angle. When the night falls and the red lanterns glimmer below the eaves, it becomes hard to resist. Tourists could not help exclaiming, "Yes, this is Suzhou." Now I'm gonna introduce top 4 dishes in Suzhou. The left picture is the most famous one. It is called the squirrel-shaped Mandarin fish. It is a traditional dish in Suzhou, and it is characterized by its lack of bones and soft meat. The name is derived from the dish's resemblance of a squirrel. The meat of the fish is made to protrude outwards like the fur of a squirrel. The placement of the fish and the red sauce poured over it also adds to its resemblance. The fish is deep fried to give it a beautiful fragrance, and the meat inside is soft and fresh. The sweet and sour sauce further enhances this flavor, making it a mouth-watering and appetizing dish. The last picture is called the Taihu 3 Whites. This dish is the most famous local specialty of Taihu Lake, Suzhou: the white fish, the white shrimp, and the white bait. Usually the ingredients are steamed or scalded without any sauce to highlight the original flavor of the ingredients. When we talk about Suzhou food, Yangcheng Lake crab must be mentioned. you can see the lake from the left picture. It's rated as the crown of crabs. In China, people eat crabs following the rule 9 for female and 10 for male crabs. According to the Chinese lunar calendar, female crabs taste best in September, while the male ones taste better in October. Crabs are usually steamed and boiled in clear water. The right picture are fried steamed buns, also called as mantou. It's classic, fantastic, wonderful, unexceptionable, terrific, and awesome. It is not a kind of steamed bun, but stuffed bun. mantou is fried on a big pan in shallow oil, so the bottom of mantou is very crisp and tasty. The most wonderful part is the filling, which select and use leg meat of the hog. The secret of the dainty lies in the meat jelly, which is mingled with the filling. After the frying, jelly is melted into juice, so it's absolutely tasty. And now I'm gonna share my screen to show you the video of the beautiful Shanghai street, the beautiful water town.
Yes, Vivin, what happened?
Can you
Vivin,
see?
can you hear me?
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, I can. Can you see? Okay, I'm gonna share this to all of you. It's the water town.
ASOS.com. New to ASOS.com?
China, an old town known for its canals, bridges, and classical Chinese gardens. Today, it's a destination for tasty lake crabs and foliage in the fall. We're deeply inspired by the cultural values coming from this town, and we're taking you to experience it from the modern to ancient times, to a famous poem, A Nine Mooring by Maple Bridge. Through the gate to the east building that represents modern China, we arrive in the heart of Suzhou, welcomed by the sleek and modern settings at W Suzhou that is inspired by traditional local elements. As our view elevates from the ground to the lakefront suites, we prepare ourselves a wonderful sunset toast at the rooftop before taken by the moonlight on the Jingji Lake and the light show among Suzhou's skyline. And after a quick change, we're led by the delicate embroidery and steelwork from the region to our first dinner at Shuyang. We indulge ourselves with gourmet Chinese dishes including the roasted duck and famous Yangcheng Lake crab. It is the epitome of modern Chinese dining with wonderful hospitality and experience above the city life. Waking up to the stunning rooftop pool with a view is the best way to restore energy before starting the day. The airy yet personal space makes you feel like you're resting above all the hustle and bustle in the city center. While we're fully charged, we join with W Insider and visit the Shuhe founded in 1757 to taste the notable noodle culture that goes from breakfast to dinner. You get to choose your toppings for the noodles in either red or clear broth. After understanding the history of the old town, we head to the nearby Yangcheng Lake to experience the cult of crabs, an autumnal obsession for the hairy crabs in the region. People pouring from all over China and the world for this delicacy of Suzhou during the crab season. There are never too many lake crabs and dishes spinning on the lazy Susan. Then we arrive at Suzhou Museum, one of the latest masterpieces of acclaimed architect I.M. Pei. As a tribute to his hometown, the architect brought together both his modernist sensibilities and the Suzhou vernacular to house the impressive treasures across many dynasties. The design takes cues from traditional Suzhou whitewash walls, dark gray tile roofs, to intricate garden landscaping. The setting and cultural references truly offer us a chance to be on a time journey. And suddenly, we find ourselves between the canals in Zhouzhuang, one of the most famous water townships in China. Noted for its profound cultural background, well-preserved ancient houses, and elegant waterway views. The Oriental Venice has long been a haven for scholars, poets, artists, and skilled craftsmen, and it still is today. We make our way through the stone bridges across the canals on the rowing boat, witnessing the distinctive views and the ways of life in the water town. Among the old mansions and alleyways, their histories and memories frozen in time but still alive. We started to realize and comprehend why this place has a unique and significant spot in Chinese culture. Follow the nostalgic atmosphere. We settle into the exclusive Tony House for a hidden retreat. This historic mansion was once abandoned and now given a new life as a 5-room only guest house with impeccable and luxurious details. We enjoy practicing Tai Chi exercise with a pure state of mind and strength in the bamboo courtyard, followed by the performance of Chinese ballet singing, Ting Tan. With all the senses being satisfied, the living experience is simply balanced and delightful at the same time. As the chilly wind blows through the foliage in Tianping Mountain in the morning, we start a series of cultural discoveries around the old town of Suzhou. From the largest Buddhist cell at the famous Hanshan Temple and Monastery, to the exquisite architecture, elegant art form, and delicate beauty at humble Administrator's Garden and Tuisi Garden, which are among the 4 most important Chinese gardens in history. They best represent the prosperity, prestige, and aesthetics from different eras and dynasties. And finally, through the mysterious bamboo forest, we arrive at Tiger Hill, a site that was built from 2,500 years ago as the final resting place of Wu King Helu, the founding father of Suzhou. A legend says that a white tiger appeared on the hill to guard the tomb following his burial, hence the name. At the end of intricate trails and temples in the area, we made it to the top of the hill by the leaning Yunyan Pagoda that's been serving as a symbol of ancient Suzhou for years. After dark, the water town comes alive at Pinzhang Road, along with the country opera performance by the famous Master Lu. Originated from this region, Country is one of the oldest Chinese operas and the only ancient theater work that remains alive in the world. After the mesmerizing melody at the theater, we're left in the cold with the moonlight, empty canals, and the streetlight reflections on the water. The scenery describing from the point, the night mooring by Maple Bridge by Tom Poi Zhangji, pretty much sums up the elements and elegance that have encountered in Suzhou, with a bit of loneliness and sadness as the night falls.
That was an interesting video, Vivian.
That was beautiful.
Looked like a city. So where it is China? What part of China that city?
Where is it on? Yeah.
What part of China is the city?
South and east of Beijing.
Yeah.
It's far from Beijing because this city is near Shanghai.
Okay.
Shanghai. Okay.
Yeah.
Does it have an airport?
Is it like
Yeah, sure.
It does. So can I fly directly there from San Francisco?
you can't
I'll
fly?
look it up
Jim.
in just a minute.
It's already cancelled. The flight from US and China is already cancelled. That's what I heard last time.
No. I mean, given the say
When
before
COVID-19's over.
could I fly
Yeah.
there directly from San Francisco?
I think
Yeah.
so. I think you can.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's 10 million plus people living there. I figured it had to have an airport, but I didn't know if China routed us through Beijing or some other place before we could get into the country, because all of the customs and all of that.
No, I think you can
I
just
have a better
directly fly here, Suzhou.
I have a better route. Let's go to Moscow, get the vaccine done, and then we'll go to China.
But two vaccines. You need Chernobyl too, and then Sputnik.
How close? Hey, Vivian, how close is it to Shanghai?
I think it's like an hour train.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's pretty close.
Like,
That's not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you spell it again? How do you spell?
SUZHOU.
He's looking it up on his iPhone.
He wants to go.
I want to
That's
go. I'm
beautiful.
sorry. That was really beautiful.
I feel so
Yeah.
relaxed after watching your show. I feel so relaxed and almost like I actually got to visit someplace. If I could just smell the food and I'd feel like I was there. But the squirrel thing, that was cool. That
They have great crab meat.
yeah, they do.
What's the hotel rate?
And did you see that fish dish?
Yes, I
That was
did.
unreal.
What are the
I'm
hotel
trying to
rates?
book my flights right now. Vivian. I'm working on it.
I want to know what the hotel rates are.
Just a minute. We're working on that too, Jim.
Vivian, have you been there before?
Yeah, I've been there before.
Wow.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I like it. I really enjoy the ancient vibe there. As you can see from the pictures, the buildings are from like ancient times and the water tower and everything. It's like a different world.
It is.
So peaceful and everything is so great. I love this city. Different.
It is different, and you're right. It does have that ancient vibe to it.
Yeah.
It looked like you
What
had the
happened?
modern.
I was watching.
Oops.
Sorry.
Yes, Jim. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying it looked like there was a modern city and then the ancient city was next to it. Is that true, or is that just what I was seeing on the pictures?
Yeah. It's like the ancient city is from the ancient times, and the modern part are built, from recent decades.
Yes. Yeah, because that Eastern Gate that we went through, that looked very modern, very up to date.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. But the white.
Even, what happened is that,
Go ahead.
What happened is that I was watching one of your shows on YouTube, and then I come across a recipe because YouTube follows your AI, and then there was a Chinese recipe which is like a fried milk. And when I watched that video, I was mesmerized that there's a recipe in China where you can fry a milk basically, and then it creates some kind of a snack. Do you know about that? Because it looks like that's very popular.
What is it? Fried what?
Fried milk.
Milk.
Yeah, you can't fry milk.
You're a little bug.
Yeah, we have fried. Yeah, we have fried milk.
Get out.
Yeah, the first time I heard about it, it's strange, but we have it. You fry the milk to like. I can search for the video for you, so that you can have a great
talk about this. That's
I'm not buying it until I see it.
And you gotta, I was so amazed and surprised after watching the video. I watched like 4 or 5 different recipes of fried milk, and then I got okay. Now we can fry milk as well because they have a different way to do it. But it was amazing, and I will surely gonna try at home.
Okay, I found one. I'm gonna share my screen so that you can see.
All right. I'll eat my words if you can show it to me. Okay.
Very much.
Plus on every Chromebook. Like this one right here.
All right. Commercials.
Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus now bundled together. The greatest stories and characters, the largest streaming TV library.
Can you hear?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
In this one.
Okay. That's not milk. Oh, that's wheat flour. Okay. Okay.
And you can get all this stuff from dollar store.
Yeah.
Lynn you can confirm whether we have all this stuff available from dollar store.
Oh my goodness. All right. Okay, but you had a lot of flour and sugar and other stuff, so well, I get it. I get it now. Okay.
Yeah. But still, I think it's a tricky recipe because I think you need a good hand to make sure that you can do that.
Oh, like that, yeah. So you think my wife should do it, not me?
I'm not sure about your cooking skills. I can do that. I mean,
yeah,
I
you could do it. I know you're a good cook.
But that's amazing to see. Wow.
That looks like tapioca.
Yeah.
It does. We have a something similar here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You put all that stuff in. I can see why you can fry that.
Have you tried fried ice cream coated with some flour?
No.
Yes.
We have that in India.
When you
Very
fry
few people
ice
serve
cream?
it, but they have a fried ice cream kind of a thing. It's a
We will
snack.
have fried ice cream in China as well.
Wow. So we are neighbors. That's why we have the similar recipe.
Oh my goodness.
So this is an art. This is not
Really?
Yeah, this is certainly.
I mean, this is a long process
Yeah.
because you got to freeze it for 5 hours.
Yeah. See, if it doesn't go in the microwave, I can't do it.
But Jim, we have to overcome the microwave thing now because I think a lot of people don't want to use microwave anymore. They prefer OTGs instead of microwave. Oven.
Oh well, that's the least of my worries now.
Oh, I got the prices for you, Jim. From Raleigh, Durham, it's 1,500 round trip, but you land in Shanghai, which is right next to Suzhou, and the hotel rates 5-star hotel at the Shangri-La for the whopping price of $79 a night.
Oh.
If you stay at the Marriott, which is only a 4-star hotel, $86 a night. So,
how come it's cheaper at the Marriott?
no, it's more expensive. It's 86 at the Marriott. It's 79 at the Shangri-La.
Right.
Okay.
I mean,
but Marriott's only 4 stars. Shangri-La is 5-star. Shangri-La is a really beautiful hotel. I'd stay there at 79. Ditch the Marriott at 86. And,
well, that's why I can't understand their pricing. How can the Marriott charge more?
Well, Marriott always charges more for the name. You spend $7 more for the name. And
I see.
Shangri-La is a nice hotel in LA as well. So if you go
the
to
Shangri-La, I would stay at the Shangri-La. 5 stars,
it's
gorgeous.
really, really first class.
There must be one in Vegas too.
Yeah. So they've got a really good. The one in LA is an old naval facility for officers, and so it's all metal. The whole building is metal.
There's also the Hurton Seaview Hotel right on the lake there for whopping price. It's 3 stars, $17 a night. Hey, we could have an IBM TV party at that rate, right?
There you go.
Quarterly.
$17 a night. Yes, we got to go to China. We'll have to do this.
Well, that's why we have Lynn here to send us to these.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Lynn would say $17 a night, save your money, and go to the Hurton Seaview Hotel. And that's what you got to do, save your money so you can go to these things. It's really great, though. It's a beautiful hotel.
That was a great job, Vivian. I'm very impressed with what you did there.
That was beautiful. She does a great show.
I never even heard of that. When I saw that, I was so impressed. It's like the Venice of the Orient. They have waterways and everything. Definitely a beautiful city. Definitely a place to go to, a destination as soon as COVID-19's gone.
That's right. We'll,
Yeah.
we'll get there. It's just a matter of getting things. We got a vaccine coming out, so who knows,
And we
right?
fly to Russia first, get our vaccine, then we fly on to Shanghai, and then go.
That
to
might
Shanghai.
have to,
Right.
in order to get your passport today, you might have to do that, right? You might
I have a passport, but I don't know. We may need a visa to get to China. I don't know about that. Do we?
I don't know.
I don't know. I have not.
Let's ask Holmes when he comes on.
Yeah,
Well,
that's true. He would know. He
Holmes
goes to
was
China all the time.
supposed to join us today. I don't know what happened, but he's been busy. He's launching his startup. It's really exciting. They've got a startup now, getting ready to just run. They're running with it. So he's been texting me for the last 2 days. It's interesting to hear about what's going on there. And I thought he would join us today and share with it, but I guess he's still pushing it. But we got Lynn.
Lynn from the Family Dollar Store raised our
Oh,
sponsor.
right?
You're not worthy.
Lynn, no, he's definitely not worthy. I would agree.
Now you can greet me this way, Jim.
Namaste.
Oh, thank you.
This is
Namaste.
Namaste. Ben is the only one that can, do this. So I want to see the rerun of what Vivian did, because I wasn't able to get on before
We're going to put
just
the whole
now.
series together so you can binge watch Vivian Lee's China. He's got some really great cities, and I need to get them so I know my tour guide which cities hit when I go.
There you go.
Right
I know
now,
the one
there's a lot more than I was going to, because there's some things like this one I didn't even know about.
Well, the ones I've seen have been wonderful. So, and I know Vivian does a great job. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, talking about the dollar store, I've got my props here, and I've got my straight man who is sitting there in the middle on the lower side. My family owns what's called the family.dollarstore.com, which is an online dollar store. We ship right to your house. Anything over $25 is free shipping. We're supporting the mission of Money Masters PBS. The mission, if you haven't heard it before, is to narrow the gap between poverty and financial sustainability by providing financial education and financial fitness. Money Masters PBS is the owner of IBMTV. And so that's why we're here on IBMTV. If you go to the IBMTV website and click on the big round button that's right there, you can sign up to become a customer and then begin to shop. And when you sign up to become a customer, you're going to get an immediate $5 of gift tokens. They're just like gift cards, like you would get for any store that might give out gift cards. And if you sign up in the month of August, you're going to get $5 more, because we're giving, for everybody that does sign up in August, we're giving an additional $5 worth of gift tokens. And you don't have to buy anything yet, but you'll have these to be able to use when you buy. And every purchase provides you with more gift tokens for every purchase. We're giving 100% of our profit to Money Masters PBS through the month of September. And we really believe in the mission. We have lots of great products. As Jim likes to say, they're not cheap products. They're good products that we sell less expensively. But here's the thing. We have these face masks, okay? They're just like you would get from the medical mask. They're 3-ply, blue on one side, white on the other. Okay, so Jim doesn't want to get anybody exposed, so he's keeping his blue out. But because I'm connected to Jim through the computer, I'm concerned about getting a computer virus from Jim. So I'm going to wear mine with the white side out, which will protect me from Jim's computer viruses. Now, but that aside, because it's a long distance, Jim, for you to send it. So since you live out there in yeah, well, Nick started this. I didn't start it. But here's the thing. For those of you who don't know, Jim is a master chess player, but for some reason, when he goes to play Sasha Star, he has real pain. So Kimberly has explained to him that if you know you're going to have pain ahead of time, put the patches which are for pain on your head, and Jim will not have pain when he goes to play Sasha. But then he puts it on his arm because moving chess pieces can be very painful, and you can get all sorts of tendinitis in your arms. Well, we have fun with that. But look at this, 50 masks for $25. 50 masks for $25. Free shipping, but it's only going to cost you $20 because you have your gift tokens. So what does that cost, Jim? You got to get out your calculator. How much is that per mask now? Instead of 50 cents, it's what?
40 cents.
40 cents a face mask. But look at some of these products. We have lots of new products, by the way, new CBD products. If Mark Lee were here, he would stop us right now on the cookies and snacks because he loves cookies. Jim has one of our new CBD products that are on the site. We have beauty products. Obviously, Kimberly likes the beauty products because look at her face.
Well,
so you can tell that she uses them. But we have one product which, and I got tied up yesterday, but I will order today. It's called Line Lift, and it costs $4.99. There it is right there, which Kimberly's clicking on, Genesis Solutions Line Free Lift. And I'm going to order 2 bottles of it for my wife. Same product from Amazon, costs $67. And you can see it costs $4.99 from us.
Unbelievable.
And you can get it with free shipping. You can buy your masks. You can apply the gift tokens. It's really fantastic, actually.
It's kind of not fair then, though. Vivian doesn't have to buy this.
Oh no, Vivian doesn't. She's not old, but at some point in time, she's going to have to start doing it just to make sure she never gets the lines. Okay.
Well, actually, I use facial mask every day.
Oh, well, look, the facial.
I use those things a lot.
It's working.
Well, facial masks. Kimberly, you can show Vivian the facial masks because our facial masks are a lot less expensive than you're going to find by buying them over the counter.
Well, they have the collagen masks, just like you have over the counter that I get they cost $25, and they have the collagen mask here.
Wow.
It's really the same mask. I can't see any difference in the ingredients, and it's the same mask part that goes on your face. So it's the same components for $2 versus $25. So why not, right? Why not try that? What I do recommend is if you're doing a mask, and Vivian will probably agree, make sure you exfoliate and cleanse your skin really good. And after you exfoliate, make sure you get all the exfoliation off of your skin before you do a mask. So
That's what I do.
Complete process. It is a complete, not that you guys care, right? But it is a complete process for good, clean, shiny, healthy skin. And that's what you want to do, right? You want to renew your collagen, get the elasticity built up, because we don't build muscles in our face. So our face sags, right? Gravity pulls it down. So my mom always said a smile was a good facelift. Because you're using your muscles up, not down. So
now, do you know it takes fewer muscles to smile by about 1/3 of the muscles that it does to frown? So why not smile all the time?
That's
but
right.
So apparently Jim goes and exfoliates his face really well before he puts on the face mask because he wants to make sure that maybe it'll take the wrinkles out of the face mask, I think. I don't know. Anyway.
I just try anything. I'm trying anything
to
look better on IBMTV.
Well, there you go. We all ought to try that. Maybe I better dye my hair some dark because.
Or get a cap.
Yeah, or get a
That's
cap
right.
like you. I'm not a cap person though.
Your
So-
hair looks fine. Don't worry about it. You got hair. At least you got hair.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why I wear the cap.
So I mean, you be thankful for what you have, you know, and enjoy it. I mean, I've literally, this is the longest my hair has been in a long time. I've always kept it cut short, but you know, no hairdresser during COVID, and so I'm having to learn how to deal with something way new. I don't do anything to it now. I just kind of let it go. But you know, we're all learning something new, right?
We are.
And
So-
you know, remembering to mask every day when I've got a box of them in the car, that makes a big difference.
Sure.
So,
Sure. So here's the point. We're supporting a wonderful mission, okay, for Money Masters, and it is providing financial fitness and financial education. So Kimberly, what are the 5 aspects of financial fitness? The first is save money. Save. Okay. The second is invest. Okay. The third is, you know, when you save, you can also therefore pay all your bills.
spend properly, manage your bills. That's
Manage
right.
your bills. You pay your taxes. Okay. Because everybody needs to be sure they pay their taxes. And number 5 is you pay forward, because you're helping to support the mission of Money Masters, which is financial education and financial fitness.
And raising people from poverty to sustainability.
Now, I haven't looked, but do we have the nail polish that Vivian uses on our? Because look, I saw her.
Yeah, she's
her
got
nails.
beautiful hands. Doesn't
Yeah,
she?
she's got the big
I'm
nails.
ashamed of my hands because I do a lot of work. She's got gorgeous fingers.
Oh,
Thank
so
you.
better than mine.
I think you do have nail polish. Let's take a look and see what's all. I had you here. Let's share the screen again.
So
And
Vivian, do you worry about breaking those nails?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Once a time, I'll cut it and then change the color and patterns and everything.
Yeah.
but you got so many different things. You know, it's 4,200 items and very.
Okay, here we go.
rare do I have. But there you've got the little girls nail polish, Mickey Mouse little girl nail polish, Dory nails. I don't know. I don't see anything for ladies.
Grown up ladies.
Yeah, there's a nice little nail kit. I was looking for one of those. And nail files. I love, but you guys need to get the nail buffers. That's what you need to get. The $1 nail buffers. Do you have them? There's the files, the cuticle.
Well, you got to go to the next page.
Let's go to the next page. Yeah, there's just so many different things, but I like the diamond dusted nail filers. They last forever. They're really good. I saw one just a minute ago.
Even Mark Lee hasn't been able to get through all the items.
Yeah, no, Mark has gotten to 4,119. That's where he was about 3 weeks ago. I think he got stuck. So anyway, so it doesn't look like we actually have any ladies nail polish. I guess there's so many kinds. It's hard to have the color that everybody would want.
You know, the best thing to do is if you're going to do something is like the nail hardeners, the top coats and undercoats. Those are always the same. They're clear. You know, most women use them, especially if they've got a nutrient built in them, a gel of some kind that helps strengthen your nails, which, you know, in this day and time, we're all going to need something because your nails and your hair are what pay the price for when you get sick. If you're not out doing things and staying exercise, that your nails change texture based on your health. So yeah, and nail buffing, if we could get a good nail buffer. I love good nail buffers because I don't polish my nails, I shine them. So
I'll write that down.
Nail glue.
That comes right after hammocks.
Right after hammocks, but you got nail clippers. But here is the metal files, which I prefer those if they're the diamond dust filers, because they'll last for a very long time, but they they do what I call a fine layer of shaping. It's really like using fine sandpaper. It's a smooth edge, and so there's just you've got some good products there. Even the little girl stuff, I'd play with that if I had time. But again, I go back to if you've got a baby shower coming up, and we know that people really aren't doing gatherings anymore, go ahead and stock up $25 worth of a box of really nice name brand products for the new and ship them. Also, think about the elderly people. If you know someone elderly in your life that probably doesn't have a lot of money.
That's a quality product for $2.50.
Right, and the bottles, all of these are name brand. You're not going to go wrong. As a mom, I would have used these products. So, sure. But the other thing to be really conscientious about is if you know some elderly people who just need some essentials like the nail clippers, nail files, soaps, shampoos. You've got all the essentials here, dish soaps. But if you know of an elderly person who's alone or a couple and they don't have a lot of money right now, send them a box of supplies, right? Or
you don't have to leave your
like I do. Send them a gift certificate. Send them your gift tokens, and here again, some name brand soaps. Some of my favorite.
Where's the Irish Spring?
Yeah, I love Irish Spring.
Where
is it here? I don't know if Irish Spring is. But
it is on. It is. You have to keep going.
Yeah, Irish Spring is here.
There you go.
There it is.
Your old fashioned
$1.75. Whoa.
Yeah. And the thing that I like about Irish Spring is it smells so good that I would take and unwrap it and get it hard in my drawers, like leave it in the drawers, and it would scent my socks and things like that, just to make them smell a little bit fresher and have that nice Irish Spring. But you got the cocoa butter soaps. Cocoa butter is always nice. Anything with honey almond. Almond.
Kimberly, did you learn that from your mom?
Yes.
Yes.
That way your soap doesn't get all mushy, soft in the shower, right? You let it get hard outside. Take it out of the box, and that way you don't have that runny, squishy soap. So yeah, I spent listen to my mom. It'll last longer and everything. But these are just some good things, good way of spending your money. You save your money and then you can invest it. And we've got some great investment shows. Also, listen to Nick and some of the guys who are on our Economics Monday or Financial Fridays on other ways to invest your money, not just stocks, but how to better manage your money. We're not all millionaires yet, but listen to the millionaires. This is what I tell people, right? Is education is valuable, and don't miss out on it. If you can get it, because that will open up many, many doors for you. But experience, you're not going to be able to beat that either, but it can be very expensive. Or you're going to sacrifice a lot of your time working for somebody else. But experience is, again, another very valuable tool, but very expensive. But other people's experience is priceless.
It's priceless.
You can't buy that anywhere. And we've got millionaires and billionaires who are coming in and out of our shows, sharing all of this wonderful advice as if you're sitting at the coffee shop with them. Why not sit and listen to an hour of that conversation? It is going to go off on different places. It's not a classroom, but guys, this is what they talk about when they're sitting at lunch together. And this is what I told Nick when I was doing the interviews of Money Masters with him. These interviews are great, right? And they're on spot of telling a person's story to inspire you. But when we went to lunch is where all the good stuff was, right? So that's what we want to bring to the people. Don't be shy about asking questions. Text us. We love it. We will love answering questions during the show, after the show. Sometimes we learn from your questions, or we learn how to answer those kind of questions. So don't hesitate. But people, this is free advice, or not even advice. I'm not going to call it advice because we have to be very careful, but it's free information. And go out and buy the books. That's what I do. I've got books galore. I love to read. I don't watch TV much anymore because there hasn't been a lot worth watching. I do watch IBMTV now that we got the really cool shows. Jim has his Chess Without Borders. We've got Sasha with investing. That's right. We got the book Chess for Dummies, but which has sold 1 million people. 1 million people bought this book, so it's got to have some kind of credibility behind it. But all of these great and wonderful things, you learn from them. I learn every time I read David K. Johnson's book. I can't count the times I've opened it up. It's better than a classroom book to me. But again, this is his experience. And I mean, what better person to get experience from? There's several others up here that are really good. Gary Shapiro, who actually runs the CES, the world's largest conference. He's been doing this for 30 years, I think. This conference has been around for 50. So, but these people are willing to share their experiences with you. And I guess Jim just left us. But we're going to have to say goodbye. We're going to have to say goodbye. Ann Kit came to help me say goodbye. So
yeah. And Jim needs to go to Sasha's show, actually. So he just left. Okay. And then I think it's time to wrap up our show as well, because we are starting Modern Investing with Sasha 1 p.m. EST today. And thank you for joining us on Startup Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow on podcast on Thursday. Before we wrap up, Kim, I'll tell you, it's a festival in India which is called Janmashtami, where Lord Krishna born like 10,000 years ago, and we celebrated with a lot of rituals and a lot of prayers in India, and we do decorate our Lord and all those stuff. And then people have a fast; they don't eat, and then they eat at 12 midnight after giving food to the god. And the belief is that the god will reborn at 12 midnight, and then people have those rituals and prayers, and then they get that prasad, which is like some kind of food from the temple, and then they break their fast.
Okay.
So that's the tradition going on from past like 10,000 years or so. So we are celebrating Krishna Janmashtami today in India.
Well, it sounds wonderful. Well, and I'm glad that you were able to join us because I know it's very hard when you're doing all of these family celebrations, but it sounds like a beautiful celebration. And you're getting ready to go eat too, right? At midnight?
That happens. That happens in India. But it's time to wrap. So let's wrap up the show. I'll play the intro for Startup Wednesday before we wrap.